that I've chat on. No. Oh. I was trying not to laugh. That gets me though. I shouldn't laugh. I'll cough. What's up, people? How you doing? Oh my god, it's been too long. Uh, I have to tell you, I have not enjoyed my vacation. Not even a little bit. Turns out I actually like streaming a lot. Uh Remarkably bad financial and emotional decision to not do it, I have to say. Um really did miss you guys. Multiple weeks late. I know. Oh god. Yeah, okay, we need to talk really quick because speculation is going to piss me off. We need to talk about what I've been sick with. Okay? So everyone knows. God damn it. Yeah, I don't know how the stream's going to go. Um no, it's not COVID here. We'll go over it, okay? Hold on. Open up Paint. That's right, Windows 10 is broken. Yeah, I caught the gay. Look, okay? So here's the thing. Ugh. So I took a couple of days off to spend time with my folks. And I got a cold during it. It was a cold. I tested myself multiple times for COVID. No COVID, just a cold. It happens. I don't get sick that often because I don't go out that often. But, hey. Um, but the cold gave me a cough, all right? And here's the thing, okay? For basically all of my adult life, I've had a very sexy disease or condition called GERD, okay? It's very common. A lot of people have it. Gastrointestinal something, okay? So basically, here, I'm going to draw a little diagram, all right? Okay? So here is your stomach, gurgle, gurgle. And then there is your esophagus. See? And it goes up to the throat. Now, the stomach, okay? The stomach is full of stomach acid. Now, that's not a visible, it's not a visible color. Here we go. There we go. Now, the stomach is full of stomach acid, you see? Now, a lot of people don't actually get this, but the stomach acid is acid. Like acid. See, the inside of your stomach is lined with membranes that are immune to the acid. The rest of your body isn't, including the esophagus. Heartburn is when you have backsplash, like toilet water splashing up your asshole after you drop a fat turd, and it goes up and it burns the inside of your esophagus, which isn't great. And GERD is when the barrier that's supposed to prevent that from happening isn't that strong. So basically, people with GERD have more consistent acid reflux because normally this is supposed to close, but it's not that good at it. So you get heartburn a lot, right? So I've had this since I was at least 15. And what happens is if you have a cough, it upsets your stomach and makes your stomach acid splash, which gets up into your esophagus, and the burning in your esophagus makes you cough more. And it goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And without medical intervention, sometimes these coughs can last months or years. Now, it's very easy to treat this. Eat less acidic, spicy, or fatty foods. So carbs, sugars, and proteins are fine. No coffee, that kind of thing. Don't lie down right after eating. There are things you can do. The problem is that I haven't had any issues with this since losing weight back in 2001. Losing weight helps. So I forgot about it. So when I got a bad cough from the cold, sorry, 2021. when I got a bad cough from the cold, I thought, like, oh, it must just be because it's COVID and the test didn't tell me right. So I got another test and tested myself again, and no, it's not COVID. It took me a while to remember the condition that I had. So right now I'm on a boatload of medications, most of which are over the counter, to make my esophagus less mad at me and to make my stomach acid less mad at me. And I'll be fine. This is like a minor condition. It's easy to treat, easy to fix. You just need to know what you're doing. But I still have a cough. So, you know, I'll do the best I can. That's the most I can offer. Trust me, guys. Don't worry. I'm literally. I've got a little personal pharmacy sitting right here to the left of me. I'm good on medication. But for right now, you know, there's nothing I can do to completely prevent myself from coughing. You know, I'll do the best I can. I can't be as animated as I normally am because I'm trying to keep myself from coughing. But it should be fine soon because I've only been on the anti-cough medicine for like 3 days now, and it improved like really quickly afterwards. So I should be fine in a bit. But I really wanted to stream. Yeah? That's the story. That's the... Yeah, we got... Okay. Yeah, I missed you guys too. Does this mean we can be dicks and you won't yell at us? Kinda does, yeah. Yeah, I can't really yell right now. We've got so much to cover. We're not going to be able to cover it all right now. I'm going to stream tomorrow too. I'm going to do the best I can. What I'm not going to do is keep streaming if it's like shot, you know? Like I'll do as best as I can. And then I'll stop and we'll do more tomorrow. Okay? All right. We'll keep doing that until I'm good. Okay. Close that. A lot of people in chat guessing what we're going to cover first, and you're not correct. Hold on. The first thing we need to cover, by far, is the fact that by Supreme Court edict, by rule of law, the 6 high priests of the land have declared that being gay is now illegal, if you can believe such a thing. That's right, folks. It's over. And by it, I mean being gay. Supreme Court says First Amendment entitles web designer to refuse same-sex wedding work. Now, I can't believe I wasn't streaming for this. Sorry, you know, news happens while I'm away. Now, I have seen a lot of people misrepresent this case on both sides, and I wanted to talk about what exactly it means, okay? So, I want to be clear right off the bat that this case is disgusting, and it is a circus over there in the Supreme Court. However, it is not businesses can now legally discriminate against people based on them being gay. That's how it's being reported. That's not actually accurate. The actual content of the ruling, which was still ridiculous, and I'll get to it, is that a person's political, religious, whatever beliefs entitle them to not use their platform to do work broadcasting a creative message associated with political messaging that has to do with LGBT rights or gay people or whatever else. So it's not about businesses can kick you out if you're gay. It's that businesses can choose to not, I don't know, use their creative services to make a pro-gay banner. Now, the weird thing is, as I understood it, this legal right already existed. See, a business doesn't have to say, publish banners for the Westboro Baptist Church if they don't want to, you know? God hates F-slurs or whatever. They don't have to do that. I was under the impression that businesses kind of already had a right to not provide service for any reason of their choosing. Now, businesses don't have a right to discriminate against you if you're a member of a protected class for that reason. So a business can't kick you out because you're gay, or because you're straight, or because you're black or white or whatever else. But a business can kick you out, say, if you have a shirt with white supremacist messaging. That's allowed. If you have a t-shirt that says, like, you know, white power or whatever, I'm pretty sure Starbucks can kick you out for that, which logically follows then that they could kick you out for wearing like a pro-LGBT shirt. Now that would be shitty. I wouldn't agree with that, but technically under the eyes of the law, those would fall under the same basic purview. That is to say, being white and being gay are both protected classes, but if a pro-white shirt is something that you can target and discriminate against, then technically a pro-gay shirt is something you can as well. So I was under the impression this was a pre-existing legal right. However, the Supreme Court, in their infinite wisdom, decided to reaffirm this right in a way to kind of like, you know, we're watching you, gay people. You know, like, hey, don't be too comfortable. We will look for any excuse to reaffirm legal rights to discriminate against you. Just you watch with this ruling. Now, the thing that makes this case so ridiculous is that I actually didn't know that you could bring cases to the Supreme Court under this pretext, okay? No damages existed in the case that was brought to the Supreme Court. The group that filed the lawsuit did so as a hypothetical. 303 Creative, I believe is their name, basically said, hey, we don't like this Colorado anti-discrimination law. So what if hypothetically, like, some scenario happened and like we didn't like it? And that went to the Supreme Court. There is no defendant. Not really. I didn't know this was possible. I legitimately did not know that this was a thing that you could do. There was no case. There were no damages. There was no incident this lawsuit centered around. It was literally to the Supreme Court, a private company going, okay, but like hypothetically, like what if we do, like I don't know, like what hypothetically though? What if apparently that's legal? There are people in chat saying right now that that actually isn't legal and the Supreme Court shouldn't have done that. That was my impression too. I was always under the impression that in order for you to file a lawsuit, and certainly for it to be taken seriously, there has to be damages. Don't really like the precedent being set that all you have to do to overturn anti-discrimination legislation is for a reactionary company to go, but hypothetically, you know. I don't know if I care for that. Doesn't seem cool to me. What's also funny is that apparently one of the documents that was put forward by the prosecution in the legal case was fake. There was no effort made to determine the veracity of a example document provided by 303 Creative, in which they cited a previous example of an interaction with like a pro-gay customer as a potential example of like, well, here's why this discrimination law shouldn't exist, or this anti-discrimination law shouldn't exist. But it turns out apparently that the document didn't conform to like existing records for who they'd actually served in their business. So it's possible that the document was just faked. So we have a not like a lawsuit based on a hypothetical supported by, it seems like, fake documents, making it all the way up to the Supreme Court in order to affirm an anti-LGBT message that kind of sort of falls within the existing legal limits of what you can and can't discriminate against. This is nothing more than like any excuse. You know what I mean? Like this would be the equivalent of like of you having like a shitty teacher who has it out for you and you're not chewing gum and they like smack their ruler on your desk and go like, "Hey, just a reminder, you can't chew gum." And you're like, "Well, I wasn't." And say, "Okay, yeah, but what if somebody said you was?" I don't know what and they're already walking away. Like literally, that's the level of this is literally like mob intimidation tactics on a judicial level. And I'm not joking when I say that. Like I hope everyone understands how insane this is. It is the procedural weight of the court system being used to that's a nice, like, you know, set of legal protections you have there. Would be a shame if something happened to it, to the gay community, you know? Genuinely disgusting. However, not technically businesses can discriminate against you for being gay now. Again, I don't even know to what extent. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, you could already, I'm pretty sure that, like, at least in line with what we understand to be, like, federal law, the guidelines for what you can and can't discriminate against already included like messaging associated with protected classes, if not protected classes themselves. The entire company was fake. Their website was made one day before the filing. Is that true? 303 creative creation date. Yeah, when they filed, they'd never made a site. So it's a fake company and a fake case and a fake... Okay. Let me see. Hold on. Is that it was really made like right before? Yes? Oh man, hold on. When Smith's suit was filed at the federal district court in 2016, she had not begun designing websites. Oh my god. When she filed the case, she had never done any work. It was all fake. A Supreme Court case on anti-discrimination law for creative messaging on sandwich shop signs when you've never made a sandwich shop before or had any customer. Nor had she received any requests to design a wedding website for a same-sex couple. In 2017, her lawyers, ADF, filed an affidavit from Smith stating she had received such a request several days after the initial filing and appended a copy of the request. Smith never responded to the request and has stated she feared she would violate Colorado's law if she were to do so. However, the name, email, and phone number on the online form belonged to a man who has long been married to a woman and who stated he never submitted such a request. Okay, yeah. So they literally, so they lied. So yeah, so literally, no, there is no defendant, there was no company, there was no business, and then the document made to legitimize the case was faked and like blatantly faked. And then this was done in 2016, and then 7 years later, the high priests of the land would go like, "Oh yeah, you have an excellent point. That's totally right. You're so smart. You're right, it is this meme." What kind of person spends time, money, and effort to do this? Well, they have to hate you and want you dead. That's the main thing. The kind of person who would do this is the kind of person who hates you and wants you dead. Is there no government agency that can look into this? Are the Grand Wizards just invulnerable? They're invulnerable. There are no checks and balances on the Supreme Court. The ability to expand the court is not a check and balance on the Supreme Court. There just isn't. That system does not exist. This isn't the first case of this court taking a case without standing. The case that stopped Biden's student loan forgiveness was done without standing as well. Oh, right. Yeah, we haven't even gotten to that. That's right. When the Supreme Court decided that all of you get to owe like $10,000 extra to the government for your loans, based on nothing, based on ghosts. Well, they're the high priests. They're the only ones who can see the ghosts. Yeah, the closest thing that we have to a check on the Supreme Court is like an Andrew Jackson-esque, they have ruled, now let's see them enforce it kind of deal. Yeah, we'll get to it. They can be impeached even if it's unlikely. They're not going to be impeached. The Supreme Court, the high priests? Who would dare? Who would dare question the juju magic of the Supreme Court? What, and invite a hex upon your family? Well, who would do that? No. The black magic of the Supreme Court is without question. Nobody would dare. That'd be ridiculous. Impeach the court. I would do that. Yeah. Lincoln and FDR ignored them. Well, the most famous case of the Supreme Court being ignored was Andrew Jackson. Now, unfortunately, Andrew Jackson ignored the Supreme Court because he really wanted to kill lots of Native Americans. So that's not a good reason to ignore the court. That's when you should listen to the court, actually. But you should ignore the court in other instances. There are other times when you should ignore the court. I actually wonder what the Founding Fathers were thinking when they made justice a lifetime position. Well, first of all, when the Supreme Court was founded, judicial review wasn't a thing. That's not really like laid out in the Supreme Court. Everything the Supreme Court does that gives them power, they kind of like developed as a procedural like extrapolation from existing processes. Initially, the court had very little power. Additionally, it's important to understand that a lot of our founding fathers were basically just were not actually very democratic, landowning white males, not actually the greatest pillars of democratic thought from our founding fathers. Some of them pretty okay. Thomas Paine, cool guy, so many such cases, blah, blah. But yeah, They probably read Plato's Republic unironically. True! Okay, hold on, moving on. So much to cover. So much to cover. Okay, I really wanted to talk about this back when it was happening, but a couple of weeks ago, you guys probably heard that Elon Musk challenged Zuckerberg to what was it, a boxing match? Not MMA, it was boxing, right? Now that ended up in a cage fight. Cage match. Now, obviously, this didn't end up actually happening because Elon Musk is like 55 and a blob, and Zuckerberg has the superior speed and agility of a lizard person. Also, I think Zuckerberg is a health nut. Am I wrong on that? I'm pretty sure that Zuckerberg actually like stays in shape. I've seen a lot of photos of him outside. I haven't seen that many photos of Musk outside. I don't know. We all know this excellent photo of Elon Musk, where he's looking kind of like a Resident Evil enemy, where like he's this shapeless mass, and every once in a while an eye will open up somewhere, and you have to hit that part. I don't know. I don't think I wouldn't want to fight this guy, is what I'm saying. That's me personally. I wouldn't want to. Also, Zuckerberg's, he's like 15 years younger than Musk. It's not. So Elon Musk backed out of the fight in the funniest way imaginable, which was that he got his mom to pull him out. I'm not joking. Elon Musk's mom is like this, like diamond matriarch, domitresque type or whatever. And she was like, "You're not punching my baby boy," and said, "No, my $100 billion net value 55-year-old son, you cannot do this cage match." And Elon was like, "I'm sorry, mommy dearest knows best. My mom said no, I can't." I'm not joking. Here, literally. Elon Musk mom. It sounds like a joke when I say it, but that's real. Now, obviously, Elon Musk's mom does not care about Elon. Elon asked her to pull him out of the fight. Jesus, look at Zuckerberg. I forgot about this image. Would you want to fight this guy? Are you fucking kidding? No way. Not with 1,000 years to train could you get me in the room with this fucking robot. Oh my god. Your reptile strength. He does the thing, you like knock his head and it spins 360 degrees and he just stares at you. We're just seeing modern feudal politics and Wi-Fi. Well, it is basically, yeah, it is. It is kind of like a bit of evidence to the regression of political thought, I think, where we basically have like the aristocracy challenging each other to duels. You know, it like we're regressing to an earlier time, maybe a better time when the aristocracy would fight and kill each other. But in this case, they're not. They're fighting each other in a very different way. Namely, in the form of Zuckerberg opening up a Twitter alternative called Threads. Now, I'll talk about Threads in a second, but the first thing that you have to know about it is that it has a pretty high sign-up rate. It's only been out for a couple days, and according to Zuck, it's got 70 million signups, which is pretty good. What a lot of people who use Twitter exclusively for social media don't understand is how small Twitter is. People don't actually... Here, size of social media sites chart. Give me a chart. My brain's small. I like things in image form. This is showing the size of image uploads. What? Here. Oh, this is from 2019. This is old. You can see Twitter down here. So, TikTok could be way bigger by now. Hold on. Social media monthly users. There we go. That's got to give me a good... And this is from 2017? This is older. How difficult is it? Here we go. Jesus. There we go. My God. Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, Instagram, WeChat, TikTok, Facebook Messenger, Douyin, Telegram, Snapchat, Quisho, Sina Weibo, QQ, Twitter, which is beating out Pinterest, so that's good at least. Yeah, a lot of people don't understand. Instagram is a lot larger than Twitter. What Twitter is disproportionately politically influential. This is why I like Twitter. I think that Twitter is democratic, okay? Twitter is an environment where on the same level, you can have politicians laying out like political messaging and guys called like poopy butt fart responding with racial slurs. I think that's democracy, personally. You know, it's not the same. Facebook's not the same, all boomer shit. YouTube is totally different kind of social media. Instagram is people post pictures. You know, I like Twitter. I like Twitter for what it is. I mean, I hate what it's become under Elon. I like Twitter as an archetype, as a format, as a platform, certainly compared to other social media sites. So that's my bias. Doesn't change the fact that Insta is a lot more popular. And it seems like as a consequence of that popularity, Zuck is getting a huge jump ahead in the Twitter competitor marketplace. Mastodon was never going to take off because of its like stupid anarchic federated system that most people don't give a shit about. Blue Sky is still invite only, and it barely works for what it is. So, you know, whatever. We'll see if this takes off. Right now, its functionality seems worse than Twitter's in many ways. apart from the fact that it actually like functions, which Twitter sometimes doesn't. Also, and this is pretty important, Threads, because it's basically just a part of Instagram, does not have not safe for work content. Now, I know that sounds kind of superficial, but the internet is kind of dying for not safe for work content. Like Tumblr banned it, kind of. Imgur, the Imgur image hosting service, they don't allow it anymore. Patreon and a bunch of other web hosting and payment services don't allow you to do not safe for work stuff that gets hosted on their site. Yeah, Tumblr pushed it underground, but you know what I mean. It's not allowed on Instagram. I gotta say, there's a pretty big overlap on Twitter between like leftist shit posters and sex workers. And I gotta say, like, they're all pretty fucking nervous right now. You know? Because if Twitter goes, like, if everyone jumps over to, mass marketed platform X or whatever, like all social media just kicks it out, well, then, that's pretty much all their marketing that's done. I mean, fuck, who knows for how long Reddit will allow it, right? I mean, with the changes that Reddit has been making, the fact that it can't run advertisements on not safe for work subreddits, it's not like they give a shit. So yeah, I don't know. It's pretty weird. I like Twitter's generally anarchic and democratic feel. I really don't like the idea of Twitter getting replaced by something owned by Zuckerberg. Like, he already controls Instagram, Facebook. Then what? He gets like the Twitter alternative too? Nah, I don't like that at all. Not even a little bit. Not even slightly. Of course, politically speaking, it is better for social media to be controlled by Zuckerberg than Musk, by far. Elon Musk is a Nazi. Elon Musk openly promotes and reaffirms basically every far-right account that comes across his way. He's done this for anti-Jewish posts, literally posts that explicitly say, Jews are bad, and he jumps in there to say, in his desperate grab for attention and affirmation from the far right, he will do or say literally anything to buy it out. He's done like climate change denial stuff. In fact, if you look at any of the recent posts about the record heat wave we've had this week, all the blue checks at the top are like, well, this can't be real. It was kind of chilly in my house the other day. Like, he is a representation of basically every bad political force that exists in the world, without exaggeration. And Zuckerberg is just an oligarchical billionaire, which Musk is too. But Zuckerberg isn't a Nazi. Zuckerberg is just a soulless reptile money man, which that's like the default state of affairs for billionaires. It's a lesser evil. Now, the funny thing is, the reason I brought up the cage match at the beginning of this is because the cage match is still on, folks. It's just not happening in a cage. Elon is mad. He's been posting nonstop for the past 24 hours, including threats of filing a lawsuit, because many of the people who are working on Threads for Instagram are former employees of Twitter who he fired. Because he joined the company, fired all these people, lots of thousands, right? Right, thousands of people. And now he's accusing Meta, the former Facebook company, of poaching talent. I don't actually know how much of an overlap there is in between the people he's fired and the people that Meta has hired. I don't know how much of an actual overlap there is. I don't know if anybody knows. It's probably an accusation he's throwing out without any evidence whatsoever. It's likely that some of them got rehired. I mean, that just seems likely that would happen. But I have no idea how much. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't actually matter. It's not. This isn't like an evidentiary thing. We're not actually interested in the specific extent to which they got rehired because it doesn't matter. According to Meta, no engineers or former Twitter employees. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's exactly the kind of thing he would make a claim to anyway. I find it particularly funny because I'm trying to see if I can find my own. Yeah, here we go. This Elon's own tweet from after he fired all those employees. I'd like to apologize for firing these geniuses. Their immense talent will no doubt be of great use elsewhere. So to say that and then get mad at the belief that they're running off to another company, insanely funny to me. Now, Elon Musk is a very wealthy man, but in terms of business competence, Zuckerberg laps him 1,000 times over. I have never doubted once in my life that Zuckerberg is an intelligent guy. I think he's evil and soulless. I don't think he's stupid. I think Elon is stupid. I genuinely think that he's of sub-average IQ. I think that if you stripped him of all privileges and sent him back with his, just made him a normal guy, he would be unexceptional, or maybe even exceptionally, untalented in many ways. Just a deeply unimpressive man. Zuckerberg knows what he's doing. I don't think that Threads is sending out a real threat. I don't like Threads. I don't like Twitter. I'm not happy. Except for that they're fighting. That makes me happy. I hope the lawsuit happens. I hope it's a public spectacle. I hope it leads to a lot of fallout, because the only pleasure that I can take from this is the suffering of people that I don't like, because I'm not going to win either way. I don't like Twitter the way that it is, and I don't want everyone to move to Threads because I don't like Threads. I like Twitter, or at least I like the idea of Twitter. This is the most you can get for pleasure in 2023. It's when the oligarchs who control your life. This is our, Wagner Group, Prigozhin marching on Moscow, okay? We laugh at Russia and we go, oh, this is like a feudal society. Look at their warlords battling. Look at their oligarchs vaunting for control, And then, meanwhile, over here, we're doing the same thing. We're just doing it in, this abstract corporate procedural way, but, fundamentally, it's the same basic thing. Maybe just a little bit more refined in our case. As much fun as it would be to see, Elon march on whatever city Meta is headquartered in with an army of, H-1B visa dudes with AR-15s. I don't think that's going to happen, though. It's probably not real. Palo Alto, California. I don't know. Is Zuckerberg self-aware? Yeah, he's a smart guy. I mean, the whole meta shift, the metaverse thing, has been pretty embarrassing. For the most part, though. For the most part, he's a pretty smart guy. I mean, he has to be, right? To be clear, when I say he has to be, I don't say he has to be because he's wealthy. I mean, he has to be because he's demonstrated intelligence publicly for decades. It's just, yeah, whatever. Again, it's evil, right? Yeah, we got a lot to cover, folks. I know. I know. You're going to cover the Tim Pool debate? There's so much I want to cover. It's been 2 weeks. Hold on. Please don't ask me if I'm going to do this or that. I have all of it in a big list. I know about it. I know about it all. Add button now. You know what? Tempest, you're so right. Add button now. Oh, man. Hope my voice sounds okay. That's your choice, reluctant socialist. Chat. I am not answering questions from chat. Did you guys know that everything is getting worse all the time? In this week, we have set 3 consecutive increasing records for hottest global temperature ever. We had the hottest June in history, and now we're getting the hottest time ever in recorded time. Just recorded time. It was probably hotter at the 5 billion years ago when the planet was formed, but in recorded history, it's pretty toasty. A global average of 17.23 degrees Celsius. Saw the article for this. Saw the blue check marks at the top going 17 degrees Celsius. That's not even that much. You remember when Elon Musk's thing was being like a progressive Silicon Valley, like climate change conscientious electric car company? But now that he's pivoted to a group of people who completely do not believe in climate change, all the blue check marks and Elon simps are like the biggest climate skeptics in the universe. Yeah, conservatives used to hate Elon Musk because he was like the lay epic Reddit bacon guy. He's not anymore. People still make Reddit jokes with Elon. Elon wishes he was a Reddit guy. Reddit hates Elon. Reddit is generally a pretty left-leaning platform, as much as people joke about it. All the major subs have completely turned on him. So when is the world ending? Well, that's the thing. The world's not ending. That's cope. The world is just getting worse. It's not ending. It's just getting worse. We continue to stay alive, just in a worse world. You know what I mean? It's not death, it's torture. Unprecedented fish deaths that threaten the survival of instincts as plants they feed from the will to warn. Oh, man. I can't wait for the mass famine and drought. I mean, I can wait for it. I don't want that to happen, actually. So I'm not. I can wait. North Africa seeing temperatures of near 50 degrees. 50 degrees? That's not such a big deal. Hell, over in Seattle, we consider that a little chilly. And Antarctic sea ice reached its lowest extent for June, 17% below average. Ooh, ooh. Ooh, woo, woo. Yeah, the real concern is when we hit the wet bulb temperature. So, humans cool down by sweating. See, the physical process of sweat evaporating from your body saps heat from your skin. That's why you sweat. The wet bulb temperature, that's the point that you reach, and it depends on the humidity. So it's like a humidity temperature equation, but it's the point that you reach where water will no longer evaporate in that atmosphere. Now, the wet bulb temperature is when lots of people start to die, because it's basically when you've reached the climate conditions where your biological method of losing temperature, of cooling down, stops working. This doesn't seem like a big deal. It's actually the death line. Anything past the wet bulb point, this is the death point. This is where, and it doesn't even have to be that hot. You know, depending on how humid it is, and there's a bunch of other factors that go into it. Even heat-adapted people cannot carry out normal activities past a wet bulb temperature of 32 degrees C, equivalent to a heat index of 55 degrees C. Yeah, it's current ambient temperature. There's a chart for it I've seen before. Yeah, they have like special things for it with like humidity percentage, but it's a big deal, and it's happening more and more all over the place. What are heat-adapted people? What it sounds like. Literally just people who are used to working in heat. You could do it if you had a job for it. Here's the PBS Terra explaining it. Well, that's an 11-minute video, so probably not. But yeah. So whenever you hear about like thousands of people dying due to a heat wave, it's because of the wet bulb temperature, you know? This is one of the reasons why, like, you'll have mass death heat waves in, like, I don't know, parts of the world where it hits, like, 90 degrees, and it's like 1,000 people died of heat wave. It's, well, what, 90 degrees? Really? 90 degrees? Is that much? Well, people in Egypt deal with 105-degree temperatures every summer all the time. Well, in Egypt, humidity isn't that high. So you can always sweat is the thing, you know? If you're in an area of the world where it's like supposed to be hot and humans live there, usually the high temperatures are compensated for by low general humidity for the people living there. That's how they live there, as opposed to dying there. But yeah, we'll see how things change. Where has been hitting the wet bulb temperature? Wet bulb temperature locations heat wave. Will that give me the info I need? Oh, yeah. This article makes mention of the Pacific Northwest 2021 heat wave. It hit 108 degrees. I was right here in this room, not streaming, playing Binding of Isaac, trying to get all achievements on Repentance, or whatever the last expansion was. It was 108 degrees and all the fish died. I remember. Oh, yeah, here we go. Here we go. Temperature there we go. See, it's like the heat you experience. So depending on the, humidity. Yeah, there you go. You can see. Now, if you look closely, you can see something that actually looks like kind of counterintuitive, which is that over here at the like extreme experienced heat things, like the experienced heat at 110 degrees, 40% humidity is 136 degrees, and that's in the extreme danger category. But over here, still in the extreme danger category, is 90 degrees at 95% humidity. Or in other words, it's actually more dangerous even though the perceived heat is lower. Will we reach the wet bulb temp during our lifetime? Well, it happens in some areas at some times. Not everywhere in the world, but in more places for longer. Yeah, I mean, it happened here in 2021. We hit that. Yeah. I'm reading an article claiming that 300,000 people have died due to high heat in 2018 worldwide. That number is certainly going to go up. Yeah. It's a lot of people. Even in the United States, it's going up. Some statistical approaches estimate that more than 1,300 deaths per year in the U.S. are due to extreme heat, compared with about 600 deaths per year in the underlying and contributing causes data set. This is for hikers. The actual wet bulb temp is lower than the heat index danger scale. Look, the point is, folks, humidity is bad. Stay inside. Air conditioning is good. Nuclear power is good if it fuels your air conditioning. We all good for that? We need to dredge up uranium from the earth, crunch it into rods, and use it to boil water so that we can all have air conditioning units in our house. Yeah, I've been to Florida, Zan. That doesn't surprise me at all. AC equals atomic cool. Yeah. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so a lot of this got deleted. So I'm looking at screenshots in retrospect, but I saw it as it was happening. So essential context is not missing here. So remember how Ana Kasparian, in a relatively short time, went from being what I would consider to be one of the more respected friends of the stream to being a raving lunatic based purely on the fact that she glanced at a medical document in California which used the term birthing persons to refer to people who can give birth. This offended her, and now we're running down the track that we're running down. Yeah, so it's gotten worse, it seems. So a lot has happened. We're going to have to jump a few hoops, okay? So for some reason, she decided to defend Jesse Singal. Is that Singal? I don't actually know how it's pronounced. Singal? So this is a guy who defended another person who was arguing in favor of conversion therapy for trans youth. Just a transphobe, a lot of them, not special, small brain. Ana Kasparian defending the guy who defended that person. Jesse, small brain. Ana, in this case, right here, small brain. Jesse Singal, not a transphobe at all. They just want to suppress anything that questions the safety of puberty blockers / cross-sex hormones for minors. So what you can see here is like an echo of all the disingenuous bullshit conservative talking points in the issue. Like, not engaging with the criticisms, just like they disagree with you because they want to suppress any dissident information. And then like you look at the dissident information and it's like dumbasses scrawling with their own shit, like finger painting with it on paper. Classic stuff. I don't know if it's a psychotic break or if the money's changed or what, but I think that Ana's acting in clear bad faith. I don't think this is like a fully genuine thing. Like what I'm often most concerned about is not the arguments that people give, it's the way they give them. Because I've talked to people who have had pretty significant disagreements with and not like minded it that much. Like, not all of this is on stream. I talk to a lot of people off stream, but I've talked to people who have been like kind of anti-trans, but in a way that suggests to me genuine ignorance of the subject and not like a pre-baked list of like anti-trans propaganda that they're disingenuously fronting by giving little snippets and like you know, like bumper sticker bits of counter arguments without engaging with the point, you know? Like for a million years over, I would rather deal with somebody who is anti-trans because they just think it's weird and don't get it, than somebody who's anti-trans in like this civil, disagreeable, I just have some questions kind of way, who's like, you know, oh, well, they don't really disagree with Jesse. They're just trying to silence him. You know what I mean? It's that fake, grifty, disingenuous bullshit that I really, really hate. Which Ana is doing here, like completely and unreservedly. It's not good. Oh yeah. She argued with Juniper for a while, which is fun. It's mostly just Juniper saying "fuck you," which is also fun. They were talking about barricading a speaker. This was I remember the speaker who got barricaded. They were also a piece of shit. So this spiraled out of control. Who's this Juniper person anyway? High tier shit poster. basically there was this anti-trans person who like got held in a room for a couple hours. Whatever, I don't care. But this led to an incredibly funny tweet from Anna, which old friend of the stream Doe has here screenshotted. Okay. The civil rights movement did not use the same strategies as the trans movement. They didn't barricade speakers they disagreed with in a classroom for 3 hours. They persuaded through nonviolence and showing America their humanity. Which is, I mean, I can't say it better than Doe has here. It said, the sanitized and child-friendly version of history makes liberals into reactionaries. And yeah, pretty much. Yeah. This is a shockingly stupid thing for Anna to say. Anna is a liberal. She's never been a socialist. But this is a degree of like blind liberal, like institutional, civility faith that just... I genuinely don't think that Anna would have been capable of making a statement like this a year ago. I don't think so. It's pretty shockingly bad. On many levels. So we can break it down. So first of all, the civil rights movement enjoyed a lot of success for its generally peaceful tactics, but that's because we're talking about an aggregate of a movement that involved actions of millions of people. There were plenty of instances where people associated with the civil rights movement did stuff like this. In fact, here's an anecdote. In 1969, Samuel L. Jackson, the same one, yes, was expelled from historically black Morehouse College for locking board members in a building for 2 days in protest of the school's curriculum and governance. Included in this group of people who were held hostage was Martin Luther King Jr.'s own father, Martin Luther King Sr. So again, 2 days, Samuel L. Jackson and MLK's dad was in the room. Very funny. Fantastic stuff. So obviously, like, applying a little bit of sense to this, the civil rights movement enjoyed success broadly, as peaceful movements tend to, because peaceful movements are more likely to attract larger amounts of participation. Violent movements don't get moms with children marching. Peaceful movements do, which is why they tend to have higher turnout, which means higher rate of sympathy, and so on. However, MLK was unpopular when he died with white folk. So, popularity isn't everything, for one. And for two, even if you believe that doing things like what Martin Luther King Jr. did, sorry, not Martin Luther King Jr., what Samuel L. Jackson did is like counterproductive, you have to remember that in broader political advocacy movements, there will always be like optically bad things that you can focus on, and the decision to hyperfixate on them is a reactionary decision. So, for example, I think that rioting during the Black Lives Matter protest is almost entirely negative for the movement, but it's also an inevitable consequence of millions of people participating in a high-stakes civil rights protest. So the decision to hyperfixate on the riots rather than the broader movement and the broader goal is a reactionary one, because you're pulling attention away from the valid points and towards inevitable, even if regrettable, outbursts of what you consider to be negative or optically bad attention, which is exactly what Anna Kasparian is doing here, making a bunch of anti-trans arguments, defending Jesse Singal, making arguments against trans people broadly, and then going, well, look at this one instance of something that I consider to be optically bad, hyperfixate, MLK would have never did this, ignore the fact that, people who followed MLK did this. Really stupid. And then, yes, as people are pointing out, Anna Kasparian, like a coward, deleted this tweet and then retweeted Destiny defending her, which is ever the death knell, the sword of Damocles for being a retard. Destiny agreeing with you, hanging over her. It finally fell. But she took the cowardly choice, which was to delete and then retweet. Which, if you're going to retweet someone agreeing with you, why'd you delete? It's because you were getting ratioed. Come on. Pathetic. Jesus Christ. I'm actually more offended by the deletion than anything else. Just, it's another thing that speaks to me of grifting. or like at least insincerity. The idea of like, you know, like you have a position. I mean, maybe if she had like phrased it in a super bad way, but she kind of like she retweeted like a fundamental agreement with her point. So it's just weak. It's weak. It's weak. She's debated Ben Shapiro. I just expect more spine. Okay, she's done debates. This isn't like a faffy YouTube video essayist, you know? Oh, I know, Zan. So in addition to this Twitter kerfuffle, you know, Ana Kasparian, feeling perhaps politically disengaged, wandered and traveled to the Parthenon to meet with great intellectuals where she might find sympathy for her views. She went to the Adam and Sid show.
DMs.
Hi, Sam.
That I was wrong about the Daily Wire thing. Now, I make predictions on the show all the time, and I have never been wrong before. So people, I've been making jokes about you might end up at the Daily Wire. That's not true?
No. It's funny because, you know, I'm going through something very real.
Nah,
these guys are fucking obsessed with me. Oh no, these guys are insane and they're obsessed with me. Yes. My biggest positive memory of these guys is them spending an 8-hour stream talking about me, not having me on during the stream, then inviting me on the nanosecond I ended my stream. Also, I met Adam Friended in person once. That one time I did the in real life meetup with Destiny and Modern Day Debate, and all Adam Friended to do was uncomfortably stare at me while I did setup with Modern Day Debate James. Like I didn't know he was going to be there, and I entered the warehouse room and he was there, and I said hi, and he was like, "Hey," and that was it. And then I just talked Modern Day Debate. How old is he? 15? Adam Friended? No, believe it or not, he's older than me. So yeah, that's my key memory. I think I remember a couple times PSA Sitch did something vaguely indicative of him having a spine. I think he called out No Bullshit for being like a Nazi.
Taking TYT with her.
What's up, Zan?
Very sincere, and it's uncomfortable, and it has not been an enjoyable process for me. It's been difficult. And so the internet being what it is, all sorts of people from all sorts of political ideologies have theories on like what's actually happening with me, right? And the main accusation, both from the left and the right, is that I'm grifting, which is hilarious because literally nothing has changed about my work.
And from the right, nobody on the right is accusing her of grifting. I've not seen a single person on the right accuse her of being a grifter. I mean, we know that she's grifting because we know... Like, I've seen Ana Kasparian explain why the perspectives that she now holds are wrong very, very competently and
Yes, that's correct, Vote Night. This happened before the tweets.
like, research and evidence to prove that. She knows that she's full of shit. We know she's grifting.
Work life. I'm in the same place. I have the same audience. The audience doesn't like some of what I have to say or some of the new conclusions I've come to. And so I wanted to kind of set the record straight about what I have personally experienced. I don't know what my political labels are at this point, right? Because I feel like I don't really fit anywhere. And that's just full honesty. It's, again, very uncomfortable for me. And I want to say that out of any point in my adult life, this is probably the point where I'm the most malleable and open to new information because of what I've experienced over the last.
So this is some Dave Rubin stuff, right? Literally, because Dave Rubin also came from TYT. You know, I'm feeling politically homeless. Oh, I feel like I'm not part of either side of the aisle. My mind is open and I'm absorbing all this info, and the left is being so intolerant and canceling me. And you guys, you, the right, are being so accepting of me suddenly being really stupid and reactionary. You're so,
last few years. And I can get into details about that in just a moment. But
from chat, from Sargon of Akkad, I can't help but notice Ana Kasparian has begun the same journey that Dave Rubin undertook in 2016, 2017. Wow, I swear to God I said that before reading this. If I was Ana Kasparian, I read this, I would just end it all. Like, for real, though. Holy shit. Do you think she's like she read this and she went like, teehee? You know, like, what the fuck? Oh, my God.
that was the reason why I told Adam that no, this isn't like a Daily Wire thing. I have no interest in working at the Daily Wire. I have no interest in leaving TYT. If anything, I just feel a responsibility to kind of correct what I got wrong in the past to the best of my ability and just do better moving forward. And
correct what she got wrong in the past?
Oh, yeah. I want to say, by the way, to be like totally clear, this isn't a pile-on. The problem here is not that Ana Kasparian suddenly had disagreeable views. It's that she suddenly had disagreeable views, expressed them in an idiotic way, got hyper defensive over them, attacked a bunch of people on the left, agreed with a bunch of people on the right, and then like it's not a matter of disagreeing. It's like her IQ plummeted 50 points, and she expressed all of her disagreeable opinions in a way that was maximally thick-headed and indicative of an unwillingness to engage with others. Has she even had a direct engagement with any person who's disagreed with her? Like, she said she wouldn't talk with me because I called her a retard, which bitch move, spineless. I don't fucking care. Like, she'll engage with Ben Shapiro, somebody who's like enables and is complicit in like a genocide against trans people. Like, that's fair game for her to debate. But engaging with people who disagree with her because they called her a retard, like, fuck, come on, be a fucking adult. Come on here, Jesus Christ. She deserved getting called that, though. Yeah, of course she did. I don't retract. I can't believe there are people in my chat who are like, oh, you were too mean to her calling her a retard. Honestly, at this point, calling her a retard is charitable. It is not even close to the worst thing you could call her, given the route she's taken. But like, it's not just, oh, she disagreed, that's it, it's over. I love talking with people who disagree. If Ana was sincere about disagreement, then I feel like she would have been more conciliatory, more bewildered by the blowback, and more willing to have people on to talk about it. You guys might notice that that is what I do, for instance, whenever I have a take that gets me in trouble with you or with anyone else. It's that I usually have a bunch of people on to challenge me. And do I argue with them? Am I obstinate? Am I stubborn? Yeah, of course I am. But I'm clearly willing to engage and defend the things that I believe in. Whereas Ana, who acts in good faith historically, who's willing to engage in her positions and defend them historically, she does this whole grifty pivot, and then instantly all modes of communication are locked off. You can't get with her anymore. You can't contact her. You can't ask her questions. It's over. I don't know. Seems kind of weird. Unless you're Adam and Sitch. Sorry, unless you're Adam and Sitch, idiot reactionaries who've spent years fastidiously and stupidly attacking everything you claim to stand for, so you can go over to them and whine about being politically homeless, right? Yeah, I smell a shift in the winds. I smell money is what I smell. Now, Cenk Uygur has been non-stop defending her. She also said in this she doesn't care much about past comments Sitch and Adam have made about her because she has a thick skin. Apparently not so thick skin when it's you. Yeah, guys, okay, pardon me if this sounds like overbearing or whatever, but it's true and I'm not ashamed to say it, okay? The reason Ana doesn't want to talk to me is because I would humiliate her. That's it. It's the same reason she won't engage with any people on the left who are criticizing her right now. That's it. It has nothing to do with her being offended. It has nothing to do with her ego. It's the same reason a lot of people who disagree with me won't talk to me. Her positions are indefensible, and I would make that very obvious. And she knows it, and a lot of people know it, and you guys know it, so she won't talk with me. It is that simple. There's no, it just bothers me, even in retrospect, there were people in my chat who were like, well, I think you really hurt her feelings when you called her retard. No. She's been doing this for far longer than I have. I promise you, that did not break her line or whatever. That was not the end of it, okay? There's a reason for all of this. It's very disappointing to me that she would go this direction. I thought I had a pretty good read on her in terms of sincerity, But that's how it is. That's how life is. any alternative possibility besides grift? Gas leak. I'm kind of not joking. I think it's a grift, or I think it's brain cancer, and there's a tumor in her brain that's making her act different. I'm not. It's one of those two. It's not. It is definitely not a perfectly sincere, honestly motivated shift in perspective. It is something chemical, or it's grifting. I'm on a defended gas stove, so maybe. Yeah, the gas has taken over her brain. She was offended at the idea of having it's 100% not that. She's too smart for it to be that. You can't outsmart gas leaks, Annie. I'm sorry to say. I think I'm a smart guy. Okay, a gas leak's on a whole other level. Can't outsmart gas leaks. Can't outsmart brain cancer. Be a smart boy. It's not gonna get you around that. I'd show you all of Cenk's tweets, but there were like 50 million. They're basically like, it's the same thing. It's, wow, you're so tolerant, but you're like canceling us, blah, blah. There's one other snag to this story, though, which is a trans employee of TYT recently quit. Now, given the, excuse me, given the timeline here, it's an interesting concurrence, and I'm going to take a look at their video. Now, I will say this, okay? This Ben Carollo person has me blocked. So they're definitely a bad person. Kind of not joking. So I'm not defending anything about them. I have no idea. They're a tanky. Yeah, that tracks. So I don't fantasize about like raping kulaks to death. So they probably wouldn't care for my political views either, you know? However, I'm interested in their perspective. And I mean that sincerely because I haven't watched the video and I don't know its contents. So, with no expectations whatsoever, and giving me a moment to not talk so I don't cough a bunch, why I left TYT. What's up? Can we get their pronouns? No, because they blocked me. Oh, she, her? Okay.
Alright, so in case it wasn't obvious from the title of this video, I'm done with TYT. Now, before we get into like everything about this isn't about all
It's pretty obvious. Well, you can't. It's pretty obvious if a person's they, them. I don't know. And whenever I see trans people or whatever, you know what I think? You know what I think? Okay? I don't think, yeah, oh, you know, what's your pronouns? Oh, you look like pronoun this, pronoun that. I think, well, you look gay. Because that's what you all look, oh, wow, you have an undercut? You've got eyebrow piercings? You homo? Okay. I'm taking a break from coughing. Take it away.
all of the hosts. There are actually a ton of people at TYT that I think are genuinely cool people. This is mostly about Cenk and Anna. But of course, since like they're the people that are like the big names on the network and Cenk kind of like owns the company, it's a pretty big deal when they do something like, I don't know, become incredibly transphobic and start what appears to be a ridiculous right-wing grift. I mean, literally everything from the things that they said about homeless people to the stuff that they said about abolitionists and their general sort of like refusal to hear the people that are criticizing them and saying, no, this is what people are actually trying to say. You're not really hearing what we're
for context, Anna lives in California and shoots every homeless person she sees.
saying, or you're not listening. Now, we're not going to focus on literally all of the right-wing things that they've been doing lately, especially in the past year. They've done this pivot where they go after prison abolitionists, people who say defund the police, homeless people, and anybody that they think is a radical left. Because, you know, doing the enlightened centrist thing is really a smart move in this year, 2023. Right? I still got that calendar right. No, we're mostly going to be focusing on their transphobia, which they have been escalating rapidly, which I guess is something that everybody really predicted would happen starting, I think about 6 months ago, 4 months ago, when Anna Kasparian put out a tweet complaining about the use of the term birthing person, which is really...
Okay. We've covered a lot of this. I was interested in, like, information on their experiences personally.
Like reading through like research papers about what would be like the best for my transition, how it would go, and things like that. So I like to think with my back. Ooh, by this, that, or the other thing, you're missing these details. Hey, you're literally just being transphobic right now. I even reached out to people within the network to say like, hey, I would like to maybe sit down with Cenk and maybe even have an on-the-air conversation where I could talk about how all of this stuff actually works. You know, I may not be a doctor, but I like to think that in my master's degree in biotechnology and my experience literally being a trans person, who, by the way, most
How do
trans
you
people
go from masters in biotech to TYT? Oh, shit. Do you think she manufactured the brain virus that infected Anna? Is this like a Yakub/white people thing?
will do a ton of research about hormones before they get on them because a lot of doctors don't really know that much about it. So that's actually something that I did where I spent a ton of time like reading through like research papers about what would be like the best for my transition, how it would go and things like that. So I'd like to think with my background, with some experience in biology and, you know, reading a ton about how specifically hormone replacement therapy works for trans women like myself, I might know a thing or two about all of these things. And I figured, hey, if Cenk doesn't know about this, maybe it'd be interesting for him to learn. But with that though, he wasn't really interested in having an on-air conversation because, you know, he seemed pretty intent on not changing his mind, but he was open to having a phone conversation. So I handed to him on that, like, yeah, great. So we had a chat over the phone. Now, obviously, I'm not going to get into the details of literally every single thing that we.
Yeah, the TYT lab leak theory. I don't blame Cenk for not wanting to have this conversation on air. If I was, well, you know what? I mean, I am an employer. I employ White Tempest and Ryan. If they had a disagreement with me, I would not want to have a disagreement with my employee live. That sounds like a horrible idea. I would rather have that disagreement privately, maybe a conversation live, but like that sounds like some nervous ground.
Talked about. I'm just going to give you a brief synopsis because that's really all that's important. And there are two main sticking points that I really want to touch on that happened within that phone call that I think were really a sign of like how far things were going to go and honestly how much further things might go from here still. The first sticking point was Cenk seemed convinced of this idea that I'm living in some sort of bubble. They've even said it on the air that people fighting for trans rights are all living in some sort of bubble. The problem with that is
no. Okay, that's not a fair summary of their position. Cenk and Anna keep doing this thing where they're like, as lefties, shouldn't we all work together on shared positions we all believe in rather than tearing each other apart over these like niche issues, ignoring the fact that all of this started because Anna Kasparian like went on a tirade about the term birthing persons. Like it's so disingenuous, the idea that this is like other people instigating the conflict as opposed to Anna. Like, you might notice a pattern which keeps happening, which is that all the drama around Anna Kasparian fades away as long as she shuts the fuck up. Like, this isn't something that keeps happening organically against her. She says something stupid and then brings a bunch of hate down on herself, deservedly for saying something stupid. It's not like there's this constant buzz that she's responding to, you know?
I have a lot of random trans people from a ton of different political perspectives that will like reach out to me about like, hey, how are things going at TYT? Or hey, you're really inspiring, you know, stuff like that. And I also have like a decent circle of friends and family, many of which who are sort of all over the place politically. I told Cenk very specifically, you know, I have friends that are like big Joe Biden fans, right? Like they are theoretically to your political right. His reaction to that was quite literally laughter, which I just thought was like so hilarious. And he just kind of wouldn't believe. He was like, no, you're in a bubble. You're in a bubble. And I kept pressing. I was like, no, Cenk, you don't understand. I matched with a random person on Tinder, and the first thing that they started talking to me about is how transphobic TYT has been lately, because I think that they had just kind of figured out who I was. And Cenk.
Okay, well that's not really a good argument. Like, if you match with somebody who matches with a trans person on Tinder and they recognize you and they're like, oh, I agree with you on that. Like, that's not, I mean, I've matched with people on Tinder who are like, oh, I love your channel. And then I unmatch them. Because I'm not fucking one of you people. Gotta be careful.
It's like, no, see, you're living in a bubble. And it's like, yeah, okay, buddy. That completely random person I matched with on Tinder is just part of the bubble that I'm magically living in. But really, that kind of gave me the vibe of like, oh, Cenk really thinks that like every trans person is part of some sort of ideology, that we're of like a strict like political viewpoint, and that we don't just exist as like a type of person that exists, you know? It really did seem like Cenk was of the mind that to be transgender is to subscribe to a very specific political viewpoint, which I don't know if you know this, but that's actually something that the like most unhinged transphobes are like spewing as conspiracy theories and stuff like that. They're like, these trans rights activists are all part of this strict ideological group and they're infecting people with this radical gender ideology, is literally what like these unhinged right-wingers are saying. But it does kind of seem like Cenk is just kind of in that camp of like, oh, if you're trans, you must by definition be like some sort of radical leftist. You know, clearly like not connecting the dots about people like Caitlyn Jenner or Blair White.
I do think that Cenk kind of hits on this pretty often. Anna unfollowed me on Twitter. Cenk hasn't. So Cenk tweets nonstop. I mean, he's got the hasty Twitter fingers. I mean, he argues with a lot of people in the replies. Despite getting ratioed on literally everything he tweets, I actually kind of respect it. I don't know if I could do this, man. I don't know if I would want to tweet nonstop if every tweet that I sent out had almost as many replies as they did likes. I think it's indicative of great personal strength, which is why I still kind of respect him. Anna is a coward. She tweets retarded shit, deletes it, then retweets like Destiny and Adam and Sitch agreeing with her. Cenk will tweet retarded shit and then did plant it there, plant his feet in the dirt like a sumo wrestler, you know, like a Shinto god, and stare you down even as everyone disagrees with him. I respect it. Of course, his main way of tweeting is by just asking rhetorical questions nonstop. So you think talk show hosts should say, well, you don't like what we said, so you don't think we should speak at all? You don't think that political commentators should talk about politics? Yeah, it's that kind of stuff. He specifically spoke ill of the chick we're looking at right now. She quit, so she is too pure for us. She's an unhinged person who's called me evil, racist, transphobe, and other insults, lied about our private conversation. People took serious issue with this, but to be honest, I don't actually have an issue with insulting former employees if they actually are pieces of shit. Now, obviously, leading into this, we have every reason to believe that Cenk is in the wrong, so I'm not going to take his side presumptuously. But a lot of people seemed offended at the idea of insulting former employees in general. But, like, he's insulted Dave Rubin, so, you know.
Existing, which honestly was just really, really frustrating to have in that conversation. Because the people that are in my circle of friends are people who, like, literally have been homeless in their lives and people who literally are making, like, ridiculous amounts of money. I have a pretty broad circle, you know. Something that kind of happens sometimes when you're like a polyamorous trans woman that's like a little bit popular on the internet. It turns out that you can build a pretty wide circle of people from like different perspectives and backgrounds and stuff. I know, what a shocker. But then there's the other part that was like even more disturbing, which was I pointed out something that Anna had said on the air where I was like, hey,
there are so many jokes that I want to make about polyamorous trans women who are popular on the internet right now, and I'm going to withhold all of them.
Anna said this bit about doctors giving hormone therapy to children because they were afraid of being called transphobic. And I was very clear. I was like, you know that's not happening,
thank you.
Right? Like, you know that isn't happening. And Cenk's response was, you know, I don't know. See, I could see it happening, though. And I'm like, no, but you couldn't. Because, you know, if that actually did happen, that would be medical malpractice, and it would be like a federal case to just give kids hormone replacement therapy because you didn't want to seem transphobic. That's ridiculous. On its face is ridiculous. Anybody who knows anything about politics would know that not only would that be a federal case, but it would be like national headlines. Every single newspaper would turn that into the biggest story for months. I mean, literally, the biggest story transphobes have had for the past 2 months is Dylan Mulvaney being on a can of Budweiser. So do you think that they really wouldn't make it national headlines even if it just happened once? But no, Cenk still doubled down and was like, I don't know.
She is completely correct in the idea that doctors are absolutely not doing procedures because they're afraid of being called not woke or whatever. Like, doctors will turn down a hysterectomy because you don't have 5 kids and your husband hasn't come in and personally given his blessing for it. I don't think that doctors are out here performing bottom surgery on 4-year-olds because a mom with pink hair told them they'd cancel them on Twitter otherwise.
could see that happening, and it's like, great, we have somebody who is like the head of a news network who is like basing political opinions off of things that he could see happening. Like, what a wonderful position to be in at this point. Like, the real brilliant five-head political take right there. You know, I could imagine the scenario, and that really says something about society, doesn't it? And that had to be one of the most unhinged parts of that phone call. But
It's like
whatever.
a guinea
I
pig
sent him
laugh.
some research papers about trans people in sports that went into detail pretty clearly about, like, hey, there's no evidence that there's any reason to discriminate against trans people in sports. And that was like the conclusion that it came to pretty firmly, right? Hey, there's no evidence that we should discriminate against trans people. What a wild concept. It's amazing. I know. But Cenk apparently has learned the wrong lesson from that, especially when you look at some of the clips from his most recent rant about trans people that he just did the other day regarding trans people in sports and the extreme radical activists that support trans people in sports.
Right.
Now, let's listen really quick to some of the clips from this rant to see
Let's listen.
where exactly Cenk is on these issues.
No, the hormone blockers do lower the testosterone. They do even things out a lot, right? But the men still have other physical advantages. Like we maintain mass much better. And to give you a sense of how unfair this is, that where she won in Canada with 275-pound bench press. I bench press 275. Okay, and that's not a big deal.
Do you? Cenk, you're getting up there in years, man. Do you? I believe you used to. Do you still? I want to see that. I'm calling cap. I want to see that. I want to see a video. Just saying.
Deal for a guy.
This is so ridiculous. This is literally so ridiculous. Okay, think about this. He's like, oh, this trans woman won a competition where she broke a record bench pressing 275 pounds. And clearly, that's unfair. Because I, a cisgender man, can easily bench press 275 pounds. Therefore, there must be an advantage. And it's like, my guy, she literally broke a record. Like, what are you talking about? She clearly wasn't having like an incredibly easy time. You're stumbling so close to the point. Like, Cenk is literally incapable in this moment of separating trans women from cisgender men in his own brain right here. Like, he is fundamentally.
I do think that Cenk is anti like trans participation in sports. I'm pretty sure that's the position he holds. Oh, speaking of, did you guys know? Is it MMA? A trans man is kicking ass right now. Wait, trans man MMA win. Aren't they on like a? Isn't he on like a three win streak or something? Is it boxing? Is it box? Okay, it's a boxing. Yeah, here it is. World's first trans male boxer wins third fight over cis man. Obviously, trans men and trans women have different, there are different concerns with regards to their viability in sports with hormone use and stuff, but still pretty impressive, huh? Ranked 99th in America. Wow. Okay, so technically, Manuel is in the top 100 boxers in America. As a trans guy, it's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. Yeah, look, the trans chick doing sports thing is complicated. From the research and opinions that I've seen, I still feel like, and this is just synthesizing a large amount of information that I've read, people disagree, it's an ongoing discussion. If you're a trans chick and you've been on hormones for 2 years, you're probably fine to compete with cis women. That's probably fine. It's complicated. I've gotten so many emails about it with like very, very specific info on this and that. But I really do think that seems to be the case. That's not necessarily fair for like trans chicks who have just transitioned because they'd have to wait 2 years. But like, that's one of those unfairness of life things. I don't think you should be able to just day one of transition, I'm a woman now, watch me kick this ass, like kick everyone's ass. That's silly, but that's not really happening. Look around. How many trans athletes are there? Not many. Trans people generally don't want to do athletics. They want to code and suck dick. Like the idea that this is like a substantial, like we're talking like dozens, maybe a few hundred people across the United States. That's not, it's not a substantial enough I just don't care. You know?
Mentally refusing to connect the dots that hormones maybe actually have an impact on, I know this is wild, your ability to maintain mass. That maybe perhaps like your biological traits are not dictated by some ethereal assignment of gender that you were given at birth, and maybe perhaps are actually dictated by the hormones that are like flowing through your body, telling your body what to do. Like, could he have used a sillier example? He's trying to say that trans women have an advantage in sports because he personally, as a cisgender man that has never taken estrogen, would be able to beat them all at a bench press competition. This is just on its face ridiculous. But just wait, because it's gonna get worse.
I mean, it's okay, but it's not that big a deal. You're gonna put that in the women's division. I don't care how many hormone blockers you had. It's gonna make a difference, okay? And in the limited cases.
Well, no. If a trans woman took hormone blockers and then took estrogen, they wouldn't have benefited from male puberty. They would not have an advantage. The whole thing, before puberty, boys and girls aren't like athletically different, at least not to a substantial degree. Before puberty, boys and girls are just stupid blobs. They're little babies. Puberty is when guys suddenly get much larger and stronger. If you don't have that puberty, the advantage doesn't exist. There might be some like very edge case stuff that goes beyond hormone expression, but man, if you've taken the hormone blockers and you've been on E for 2 years, nah, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
They're not like instantly breaking every record like Trump is saying, right? But they're doing better than the average bear.
That's not true.
Are
Like,
they?
literally show me any statistic that shows that trans women are performing better than average in sports. In fact, that's part of the research that I showed Cenk, that it actually isn't happening. It literally is not happening. There is yet to be a trans woman win at the Olympics, despite the fact that trans women have been allowed at the Olympics for a long time now. Once again, it is almost like Cenk is refusing to take in the information that people are presenting to him and is just making up things in his head and taking that as reality.
And here, I'll add one thing that's really important. And we shot a show, I don't know if you guys are ever gonna see it, we shot a pilot just this weekend with a mixed Republican and Democratic family, okay? I asked them about trans rights. Should they have the same rights, same exact rights in housing, employment, etc.? Every one of them, including hardcore Trump people, were like, yes, they should have the same exact rights.
Exactly.
When I asked about this topic, every one of them, except one, 6 out of 7, were like, no, not competing in sports.
Okay, that's absolute bullshit. Okay, so the trick that conservatives will play is they'll be like, oh yeah, I want everyone to be treated equally, but I don't think it, I also think that like being trans in public is the form of grooming. Like that's, you can't take, they do the same thing with the civil rights movement. They'll be like, yeah, I think that everyone, like there are conservatives who will literally say, I think everyone should be treated equally, but I think the civil rights movement is an illegitimate imposition of federal force on state law, and it should be up to the state to decide whether or not businesses can put out signs saying no blacks, no Jews, no Irish. Like I have heard this from conservatives. You can't take them at face value on that. The idea that like conservatives would be okay with trans people if you gave up the sports issue is such bullshit. Because the only reason they're pretending to care about the sports issue is as a proxy attack on trans people broadly. Like, they don't care about sports, or certainly not women's sports.
Doesn't make sense. Men and women are different, okay? And so whether that's, we can get into the, continue that scientific debate, but as far as the American people go and politics go, you're gonna lose them. Whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. You're gonna lose them.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We should adjust all of our political opinions based off of what's popular and what's unpopular, right? Because here's the thing, Cenk, you personally...
Yeah, I know this woman is a tanky. Polyamorous, trans woman, popular online. It's a coin flip on tanky or Nazi, aka Nazi. I know, it's fine, but that's not relevant to what we're going over right now.
As somebody that works in the news, have a responsibility. You have a responsibility to actually inform people with the facts and not worry about like, oh, how are they going to worry about like what I'm saying? No, you just have to like give people the facts. and that as somebody who is working in media, you do actually have an influence over people's opinions. But it's playing this game of, oh, I want to sound and seem really smart, regardless as to whether that not something is actually true. And so I'm going to say something that's not true just because it's a big smart brain thing to say. You know, I think discriminating against trans people is okay as a smart galaxy brain strategic move, because we got to win over all of these people who just don't understand yet. Like, can we stop doing this? Can we stop playing this game of like, I really want to look smart, so I'm afraid of saying something that is literally true? Or like
Well, I think this analysis, it lacks something, which is primarily that it's not just that the logic is bad, it's that the underlying facts that supply the logic are bad as well. For instance, you know, this is an extremely hot take, but I'll defend it. If I could magically know that giving up on the trans sports issue would then lead conservatives in America to just uncritically accept the rights of trans people and leave them alone, if I knew that, I would take that deal in a heartbeat. A few hundred trans athletes in exchange for the complete political safety of a class of millions? Oh, yeah, that's not fair. Those trans athletes should be able to compete and play fairly. But if that actually was the deal, then yeah, I'd take that in a heartbeat. That's not the deal, though. It's a fake deal. So it goes beyond just cruel utilitarian politics. It's just, you can't reason with the right in this way. You have to take other approaches. There are ways to get conservatives more permissive of trans people. It's possible. It's just, you know, Jenks, Yank. I say it different every time. I don't go with that method.
Up for what is just morally correct. I mean, quite literally, if you don't have enough evidence, why do you think the default should be discrimination? Explain this. Why is the default discrimination? And heaven forbid we stand up for people and say, no, trans people should just be allowed to play in sports. That's good, actually. That's fine. There's no evidence to suggest that we should discriminate against trans people because of some sort of biological advantage, because of course, that's like a silly, nonsensical idea. And also, wild concept, women with PCOS have a ton of advantages in sports. Are we going to discriminate against them too? Right? Once again, this is a failure to understand that trans people are just a type of person, right? This is thinking that transness is something extra, which is another vibe that I got with Jank over the phone, was just this feeling that it seemed like he thought that transitioning and being trans was like this extra special thing that people did for fun or to make a...
Here, excuse me, I agree with this. This is an interesting thought experiment, okay? So, would there be as much kerfuffle over the advantages that trans women have, the alleged advantages that trans women have in women's sports, if them being trans and them transitioning and all the advantages presumed thereof were genetically coded and innate, as opposed to something you choose to do? Transitioning is something you choose to do. Or to put it another way, if you took all of the imagined advantages of being a trans woman in women's sports, I say imagined for reason here, and those were just a condition that cis women could have, the same way that cis women can have gigantism or PCOS or hormonal imbalances or thyroid disorders. If they could have those advantages and it was just genetically locked, you guys know what I'm getting at, right? They would be allowed to compete. They would be allowed to. There's not really a precedent for, oh, this person has a genetic condition that makes them athletically better, therefore they shouldn't be able to compete. What? No, that's why they should be allowed to compete. Michael Phelps is half fish. The only reason people are concerned about the alleged advantages with transgender women in women's sports is because they think of transitioning as a choice that you can make in order to get an advantage over cisgender women. Of course, in reality, that's not happening. But it's interesting to think about that. Like, if you think of all the advantages, like, oh, well, some cis women have this condition where they have taller, lankier bodies, more muscle mass, Adam's apple, blah, blah, blah. It's from a hormone thing. Oh, wow, they must be really good at sports. If there were cis women that were born with that condition, you know what people would say? Wow, born athlete. But because it's being trans, as opposed to it just being a condition, it's subject to political discrimination. Just more evidence to the fact that this is all achingly arbitrary, unless they are black. Yes, there have been instances of discrimination based on higher levels of testosterone that have disproportionately affected women of color. I think that that's like broadly a race thing. Certainly, it doesn't invite the same culture war discourse, but you know, whatever.
Political statement and not just literally part of like who trans people are. Once again, this is just a failure to understand transness as just a type of person that exists. And the idea of, oh, you're just losing the average person, you losing, I can win over Republicans on like the housing and all these other things, is just absurd on its face. Because really, Jank, are people just going to vote for a Republican because they're very angry that there's a trans person playing sports ball? Come on, like, be real. Be real. Especially because, and this is another thing that I pointed out to Jank, if you look at the states where Republicans made their entire campaign just attacking trans people in sports, you know what happened when Democrats actually stood in defense of trans people? Oh yeah, that's right. The Republicans lost miserably. Nobody is thinking about this. People are not like just like struggling to fall asleep at night. Oh my God. Oh, I can't even believe trans people are playing sports. What am I gonna do? Nobody's doing that. There's a tiny group of people who are obsessed with trans people that are like going on a tirade, but that's not the majority. If you look at Michigan, in Michigan, the Republicans made their entire campaign just like, we hate trans people. And what happened now? Oh, the Democrats have a trifecta in Michigan now. And every state where Republicans have tried to focus on just attacking trans people, it has literally undermined their own support. So what is happening right here seems to be very clearly Jank hiding behind hypothetical people's opinions in order to mask his own opinion. He doesn't think that trans people should be allowed to play professional sports. And instead of just saying that, which I guess on some level he does, he hides behind, oh, you know, the American people aren't ready for trans people to play sports, you know? But it gets even worse because he basically follows this up by blaming trans athletes and anybody who dares to just support trans people existing for all of the transphobic legislation that is passing across the country and for Republicans winning.
That is incredibly selfish of activists who are betraying their own community. Because when you say I don't care about elections, who cares about the Democrats? That isn't the point. The Republicans introduced over 600 bills against the LGBTQ community. That's because of elections, and over 70 of them have already passed. When you say I don't care about winning and I don't care about elections, what you're saying is I'm super selfish leftist activist and I'd like to build my cloud. But meanwhile, I'm willing to throw trans people and the entire LGBTQ community under the bus, knowing that these bills are gonna pass.
Sorry, I have to take the enlightened centrist in this perspective. I disagree with the logic he's bringing to this. However, the broader statement he's making, which is a problem online with lefties, and let's be real, a lot of trans people doing this, well, both sides hate me, so why even bother shit? Or like the people who are like, well, it's under a Biden administration, all these anti-trans bills are happening, and then you look and they're all happening in red states. And then in Michigan, like Democrats take slight, like by a hair margin, they take power and instantly like bring down 1,000 years of progressivism on the state. Yeah. But so I honest to God, I do hate the anti-electoralists who deliberately misrepresent American politics and American proceduralism in an effort to build up this like doomer cult of like tanky bullshit. So I'm going to say that I actually would much rather have a world full of people like Cenk than a world full of people like them, because I do think they do more harm, like per voice, than what Cenk's messaging is doing here. But they're both bad. So yeah, that's my enlightened centrist perspective.
Because we're laser focused on a losing issue.
And he's like, oh, if Republicans win because the trans people want to play sports, it'll be all your fault. And like, how disgusting is that, actually?
And I do think that's what she's pointing out here. That is bullshit, that Cenk is saying that, because that isn't what's costing the Dems their victory. That's not the problem. So they're both, yeah, okay, just to be clear, electoralism is a necessary tool in the system we operate in. It's not everything, but it's something. But we're not failing in electoral efforts because we're defending trans people in sports. Because the trans people in sports thing is a psyop. Anyway, it's not the real issue. It's about trans people. Okay.
You are genuinely gonna blame people whose existence is like actively being criminalized by Republicans for their own oppression? Like give me a break. This is actually your fault more than it is any trans person's fault. Cenk, personally you, it is more his fault, because what Cenk is doing is Cenk is going to an audience of people who are presumably on the left and telling them, no, it's okay to be transphobic. It's okay to compromise with the rights of trans people. It's okay to say that we should just discriminate against trans people in some ways if it makes these Republicans happy. And like, that is unbelievably disgusting. It's such a shameless thing to do. Like, how on God's green earth do you think that you get to call yourself some sort of like principled leftist who's out to do the right thing? How can you call yourself the home of progressives when you are actively cutting deals with fascists about the rights of trans people and then spreading transphobic nonsense to an audience of like millions of people? It is deeply irresponsible, and fundamentally, it's pathetic. This is genuinely embarrassing. The degree to which this is irresponsible just knows no bounds, because there are so many people that are literally looking to people like Cenk for opinions, and he's literally just giving them an open invitation to be as transphobic as they want to be, because it's politically strategic.
They'll say that, but okay, you don't care about the politics? Let's just, for once in your life, think strategically about what that means. That means that you're going to continue pushing the Democratic Party to unequivocally support everything that the trans activists want, even if it's unpopular among the electorate. That means they're not getting reelected. That means they're going to lose to Republicans. Republican lawmakers who
And now we're doing this like the trans mafia is forcing you to defend Zer pronoun. Look, it's not, Anna, you're not being canceled by like a cabal of hyper online. You freaked out about the term birthing persons. You're the online one.
are passing draconian, disgusting legislation in various states right now as we speak against the transgender community.
Look at this. You're gonna push your Democratic Party to unequivocally support everything the trans activists want. Like, shut up. Literally, shut the fuck up. This is so embarrassing. Like, Anna Kasparian, like, look, I'm gonna be real. This is my personal opinion, but whatever. I think Anna Kasparian is genuinely personally transphobic. I'm just gonna say it right now. She's like saying and doing all of the things. She's referring to every trans person as a trans rights activist. Referencing every trans person as a trans rights activist is just, on its face, literally transphobic. And it's one of the things that transphobes have been pushing for a long time is just—
She does have a history of doing the progressive until it affects her kind of like white woman soccer mom shit. Like the anti-homeless stuff and the like crime stuff. Like I think she was justifying some of her takes on homeless people literally from like her personal experiences with homeless people, which it's always kind of like a red flag when a person has what seems like a well-held political belief, but then they have a personal experience. And they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Sometimes that can be fine, like if you learn something new. But sometimes it's like, you know, I have principles until I'm inconvenienced. And then, you know, you kind of have to find out where people stand on that. So I guess in this case, the term birthing persons was to set her off. I don't know.
calling every trans person a trans rights activist. I mean, and the media more broadly does this as well. And this whole idea of like, you're going to lose to Republicans, you're going to lose to Republicans if you cater to these trans people, once again, is entirely debunked. Most people are fine with trans people, and when Republicans make their entire platform about attacking trans people, it actually does undermine their political success.
She said on Adam and Sitch that she was sexually assaulted over clothes by a homeless dude. That started the crime wave obsession. Here we are. Obviously it's awful that that happened to her, but that's such a shitty way of forming your political opinions. You should form your political opinions on homelessness, crime, criminology, sociology, based on data and analysis. If you're doing it based on anecdotes, like what, like that's the same shit. Like then it's nothing. Then like there's no opinions. Like none of it matters at all. Like why have political opinions if you're just like throwing yourself to the whims of personal fate and inconvenience? Should a person feel they have a moral right to be racist because they've had personal negative experiences with black people? Like, you know, oh, I was fine with this, that, the other group until this, that, the other. What opinions change? Like the broader housing first policies that homeless people need, like what does that logic shift because you become one of the thousands of statistics every year, you know? Like it doesn't make what happened to you any less horrible. My hot take is that like I actually don't care that much if people are personally distasteful towards the homeless, because homeless people are, by basically every metric of civil society, often quite distasteful, often purposefully. What I care about is the political opinions you have. If a person has the willpower to have distaste towards the homeless, but then go home, take a deep breath and go, yeah, we really got to get them out of that situation. Homeless or housing first policies, let's go. I think that takes a lot of will. But like, I think that's a fine thing. I grew up in LA, which has a serious homeless problem. I'm in Seattle, which has a serious homeless problem. It's difficult in either city to go out and do something in a downtown area without seeing homeless people. And a lot of homeless people are minding their own business, and a lot of them aren't. A lot of homeless people are kind of scary, dangerous, off-putting, smell bad. And is that their fault? Well, sometimes they make choices directly that they didn't have to make. Sometimes it's a broader social thing. You can't untangle that just at face value, but you can always support the broader political positions, right? Like you can go downtown in LA and think like, oh, I fucking hope I don't interact with a homeless person today. I just don't want to deal with it. And then go home and think like, wow, well, you know, the reason there were so many homeless people is because of all these horrible policies and blah, blah. So if your positions are being changed, That's a huge red flag. Does everyone understand what I'm talking about? It's one of those things that I am sympathetic towards, that distaste, because, well, I think Anna is in LA, right? And again, I grew up in LA, and like I knew a lot of homeless people. I was friends with one. There was a homeless busker on Beverly Drive outside of the place that I worked when I had a job when I was in high school, and I would give a portion of my pay to her. And she was a, I think, recently divorced woman who had actually lost the house and didn't have any other option. My money was just like spending money, right? I had a home, so I gave a portion of my pay to her, and then like I saw her get harangued by the cops a couple of times, and one day I never saw her again. She was nothing but sweet to me. She was nothing but pleasant to talk to. But for every one person like that, I've met like a bunch of greasy, like drug addicted guys jerking off through a hole in their pants, you know? I think it's okay to feel distaste towards that, but it shouldn't change the underlying politics.
Live in a country that is very much not a democracy. It has all this gerrymandering and all these other things, and so Republicans still have like seats in a lot of places. I know, wild concept, but genuinely, if you look at their poll numbers in response to them focusing on just trans people existing, it's not working. It is genuinely not working for them. It is undermining their electoral success. But of course, you can't not take the opportunity to blame trans people for their own oppression. Am I right? It's really great that Ana Kasparian is doing this.
And by the way, you schmucks, you're falling exactly into the right-wing trap. The Republicans, they tried.
Was this the same homeless person that said this $20 isn't really going to change my life? Yes, it was.
Everything. They tried anti-gay stuff, it didn't work. They tried trans bathrooms, you remember that? Mm-hmm. That didn't work. Kicking the transgender community out of the military, that didn't work. They drilled in until they finally found a little tiny nugget of like, hey, trans folks in like competitive sports seems a little bit much. And you don't engage them in that fight. They lose on everything else. But idiot activists, yes, I just called you an idiot. Activists go in there and go, no, I'm gonna fall right into that trap, and I'm gonna fight on the only losing ground we have so we can elect more Republicans so they can pass more anti-LGBT laws.
This is just very naive political analysis from Cenk. Leaving aside the fact that like, if they're attacking you on every trans-related issue, why would you believe that the trans athlete thing is like a sincere point that if they're allowed to have, they would stop at? Like this is like saying this is like having 5 towns the enemy is attacking, and you beat them back away from 4 of them, and then you're going to try and defend the 5th town, which is a bit harder to defend, and there's like good people living there, and then your advisor is like, no, leave that be, because after they get the 5th town, they'll leave the other 4 alone, like they'll be done. What? No. No? What? Again, if leaving a tiny town alone and leaving it to burn could end a war with like millions of people involved, then sure, okay, but it won't.
Great, well played. I'm sure your clout and your brand is doing great.
These clips are just so infuriating, genuinely. Like, that talk about betrayal is just so, like, pathetic and embarrassing and shameless, coming from Cenk and Ana right here. Like, oh, you're betraying the trans community by fighting for trans rights. How dare you just say that trans people should be treated equally in society? Don't you know that you're supposed to live as second-class citizens so that I can feel better about myself when I give you rights?
I don't think she's accurately identifying the specific type of brainworms that Cenk is that Cenk is operating under here. Yeah, weak analysis, but you know, whatever. Not everyone can be me. Also, she has me blocked on Twitter, so who cares?
Literally spare me. This is ridiculous. But I think the real icing on the cake here is this tweet where Ana Kasparian has decided to unilaterally declare Jesse Singal to not be a transphobe, despite, and this is what's really wild.
My camera's mirrored, so I try to point the way I think will point upward to the screen, but it's this way, yeah.
Jesse Singal literally talking to whistleblowers at a medical facility that appear to have made some significant HIPAA violations about their patients in sharing the information that they did with Jesse Singal. And of course, you have him running around spewing all of the same transphobic nonsense that basically your average transphobe is going to be spreading. You know, the types of things about like, oh, we don't know about hormones and oh, HRT for kids and oh my God, it's so terrifying. Oh my goodness, they're turning all of our kids transgender. Oh my God.
Single is a good faith, I think, critical thinker. I'm subscribed to Blocked and Reported. I have listened to endless podcast episodes from Blocked and Reported. I haven't seen anything from Jesse Singal that communicates to me that he is a transphobe, that he is a bad person. He did straight news reporting on basically what, you know, some of the risks could be when it comes to transitioning literal kids with puberty blockers and then cross-sex hormones. And through his reporting, which I'm very sad to say I didn't really come across until this year, I learned that I was wrong about a bunch of other things.
Like, Jesse Singal literally is one of the like more notable transphobic people that is out there putting out misinformation about trans people and actively stoking the flames of this big wave of anti-trans legislation. And it's just deeply shameless to come in and say, no, I definitely think, as a cisgender woman, think that Jesse.
I think what says it best is that on Jesse Singal's Wikipedia page, from Wikipedia, Singal has been described as one of the most prominent journalists whose work involves the critiquing of trans issues. His work has been negatively received by prominent members of trans community due to the obsessive nature of his reporting on detransition and transition regret and the omission of other trans issues such as interpersonal and legislative discrimination. So the language there. Yeah, basically like Jesse Singal, for longer than I've had a channel, has it's all been like your child saw a TikTok about how cool it is to be trans, and now they're 14 and they think they're trans, and if you don't do something, doctors will cut their tits off, and you need to stop it, because if they do that, they'll be miserable within 6 months. And that's like the whole line. It's like detransition fear for trans youth targeted at parents to exacerbate their fears. Controversial aspect of the blah-de-blah. Singal was listed on GLAAD's accountability project, which the org described as serving to document anti-LGBT words and actions from people. Supported by sex columnist Dan Savage? I guess I can kind of see that. Dan Savage is exactly the kind of gay who I could see doing this, well, let me have a no-nonsense transphobic attitude. Yeah, that tracks. I used to read his column back in, like, high school. Yeah, well.
Singal is not transphobic at all. So yeah, it's good. It's fine. Trust me. And then of course he starts talking about like, oh, puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones for children. I think the important thing to understand here, and this is a line that I've like continuously told people and like said on TYT myself, that like really what it boils down to is hormone replacement therapy is literally just puberty. Like at the end of the day, it's just puberty. And yeah, whether it's puberty with estrogen or testosterone, it's going to carry some risks just like it does with cisgender children. That's just part of puberty. And it's actually not all that different if it's a trans puberty or a cis puberty, believe it or not. And so anybody fear-mongering about the effects are permanent, yeah, that's kind of the whole point, isn't it? You know? Isn't that like the whole point? But if the effects were really entirely permanent, then transitioning as an adult wouldn't really work, would it? And yet, of course, it does. And you know, it's funny because their biggest fear...
Is that true, Vosh? It's complicated. Basically, okay. All the cells in your body, all right, have a big switch. It's like a big comedy power breaker switch that you see in cartoons, all right? And it's the boy-girl switch. And depending on what hormones flood your body and at what time, the cell will flip the switch and behave differently. A lot of the stuff in our body, a lot of the growth that we experience during puberty is pre-coded biological changes that are determined by the activation code provided by the hormones that flood our bodies. I have giant, virile overfull, rotund balls, which produce testosterone, and I'm simplifying it heavily. But that means that when I hit puberty, all of the little switches in my body got smacked right over into the mask bear bara category. But if you take hormone blockers, which would prevent that from happening, and then take estrogen, which would do the other switch, then yeah, you're basically just doing female puberty. There are some things that were predetermined before you were even born, like your genitals. But for other stuff, like breast growth, the way your bones develop, like the way your bone structure. You've probably seen young shits online. So young shit is a bitter trans woman term for a trans girl who got to transition early and looks good. But you can see trans women who benefited from hormone blockers. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. They look like girls, guys. Y'all seen that, right? We literally went over that that big Reuters article. If you've taken puberty blockers and then you take estrogen, like there's a huge difference, even in bone structure. A lot of stuff gets affected by hormones, you know? Yes, the Giga Stacy Passoids. How to get over being jelly of that? Listen, you can be a beautiful woman even while being tall and having large hands too, okay? Don't freak out about it.
For what happens to children who are on hormone therapy is that a cisgender child might accidentally get gender dysphoria. You know, the thing that trans children just deal with if they're not allowed to get hormones. And so literally, this is just a nonsense argument of throwing all trans people under a bus out of the hypothetical fear that a cisgender person might take hormones and just realize that it's not for them. Which at that point, by the way, they could just stop taking hormones. And so really, when you take all this together, it seems like Anna Kasparian is fully engulfed into like the conspiracy theories against trans people. And I genuinely think that she believes a lot more than what she's saying, because I've just seen hints of like just some like extremely rabid transphobic nonsense. And with Cenk seems to be following Anna Kasparian along and kind of seems to be of the vibe of like, oh, no, I'm this big smart news guy and I've been doing this for a long time. I couldn't possibly be wrong, and very much relying on his lack of any type of understanding of biology and just making ridiculous assumptions about the difference between men and women and thinking that that's some sort of like universally applicable thing, not thinking about how hormones play a role in that, and of course is bouncing off of Anna's deeply transphobic energy. And of course, he can't help himself but frame himself as like the brilliant galaxy brain reasonable person. And of course, all these trans people are just ridiculous and out there and just radical and couldn't possibly be, you know, referencing like very basic science that is easy to go through. And any attempts to educate either Anna Kasparian or Cenk has kind of just been met with a lot of stubbornness, digging in their heels, rejecting the new information and replacing it with their own imaginations about how they think things should be. And it just continues to escalate over the past several months. And that fundamentally is why I just can't be a part of TYT anymore. It's just too much. It's ridiculous. Because at a certain point it becomes embarrassing for me. Because how can I, as a trans person who actually knows the science behind this, who actually is like actively trying to support trans people, as somebody that people look up to me, right? People literally like send me messages and be like, I'm so inspired, you know, you being a TYT, like.
Wouldn't getting HRT before puberty cause the reproductive system to not develop well? Well, yeah. Yeah, of course. Like, barely at all. Normally, they're okay with that. Did I show this? Oh, the announcement of her leaving?
So unfortunately, Benny has decided to leave TYT. I am definitely heartbroken over her decision to do that.
That is like a me level misspeak right there. You know you know after that internally she was like, you know, she's like fuming. That was That was intent. No. I think that was an accident. It's just very funny given the Oh my god. I misgendered people a few times, Ectoplasm, but I generally default to they, even with people whose pronouns I know. Even with cis people, I just say they a lot. I've always done that, even before, like, getting woke or whatever. Usually just because it's a lot simpler, unless you're referring to two different people. Is TYT live? Yeah, it's live. Right? Don't they do live on their Facebook show and clips of it go on YouTube? Yeah, they can't, like, redo it or whatever. It's just an accident. It's just funny. I don't think it's indicative or anything. I mean, it could be indicative of, like, internal reactionary thought, but we don't know.
It made me want to come out, or like my kids watch your show and you know, it just like, it gives them so much hope and they're so excited to see a trans person in the news. And I have to deal with messages from them now asking about, hey, what's going on with TIT? Hey, what the hell is happening here? Like, why is Anna saying this? Why is Jenk saying this? And that is just like the amount of like psychic damage that I have to take every single day dealing with not only the transphobic nonsense of the Republicans, but also whatever Jenk and Anna are on right now. It's just too much. And I just, because at a certain point it becomes embarrassing, because then people think that I'm like endorsing their views, and I cannot. I will not. I refuse to lend any support to those views whatsoever, because fundamentally they're dangerous and they're ridiculous and like they're straight up evil. It is just the shameless, selfish ignorance that is fueling this, and just this self-importance coming from both Jenk and Anna, this idea that they don't actually have to listen. So no, yeah, I'm done with TYT, because I can't let anybody think that I have any type of support for their opinions here, because they're just ridiculous. And it's just gotten to be too much for me to deal with all of this nonsense. And the last thing I want is for them to be able to say, oh no, it's fine, we have like a transgender host, so it's all good actually. Because no, it's not all good actually. It is in fact quite bad.
I think that it takes some backbone to quit over this. I think that's a respectable decision. Her desire to rape Kulaks to death notwithstanding, I think that's admirable. Yeah, besides that, of course. Azan thumbnail? Ew. From the Daily Dose of Hasanabe. Yeah, because everyone got to all the news stories before me. Because I've been gone for 2 weeks. And hey, I think I'm doing pretty good. I've been streaming for 2 hours. And I've coughed a little bit. I'm talking slower than I normally do. And it's been a struggle. Like I'm exerting a lot of effort to not cough while talking. But I'm able to, which is good. Yeah, I think I'll be able to stream tomorrow, too. I don't think I can go for much longer now, though, because it's harder. It's getting harder to not cough. It's incredibly dorky, but there's a, like an inhaler that, okay. It is a, muscle relaxant that keeps me from coughing, but I have to limit how much I take it, because it's also a stimulant. So I wake up in the morning, I take my Adderall, I take my caffeine pill because I can't drink coffee because of the acidity, and then I take my stimulant inhaler, and holy shit, guys, I'm waking up, I'm on my shit. God damn. I'm fucking zooted, man. I'm new, are you serious? About everything I just said? Yes, everything I just said I'm serious about. Heart attack arc? Nope, it's fine. I've actually got a very healthy heart. Last time I went to the doctors, it was literally like 120/80. Yeah, my heart is so healthy that it doesn't beat at all. That's how slow it can beat, actually. Excuse me. Ad? Oh, yeah. Sorry, guys. It turns out it's actually financially devastating to not stream for 2 weeks. I'm going to hit the ad button. We're not done with stream. I've got a few more things I want to talk about. There's a lot more to talk about, but I'm going to stream tomorrow as well. So, you know, Money button. Boop. Oh, you know what I saw last night? I saw that. I saw that gay Netflix movie. Nomita? Nomita? Nimona. That's it. Nimona, yeah. Is it good? Yeah, it's cute. It's definitely like a kid's movie. And it's very like girl punk, you know what I mean? Like it's the kind of movie that's going to lead a lot of antisocial 14-year-old girls in a high school to like doodle in the margins of their notebook for a while. And I'm not a 14-year-old girl in high school. I'm a nearly 30-year-old man. So there was a lot in there that just wasn't for me. But for what it was, I think it was really cute and really good. Yeah. Like there was stuff in there that made me kind of cringe, but yeah, like yeah, you know what I mean? Like I think you can watch like Blue's Clues or Sesame Street and go like, okay, well this obviously isn't for me, but it's good, you know, like it's good for what it is. And I thought it was pretty good. What's your star rating? I guess I would give it like 4 stars out of 5 to its audience. But if you're an adult just looking at stuff to watch, I mean, it's still good and entertaining, but it's you know, it's juvenile. One day, Dr. Strange. I know you've been in the meme mines for a while. Yes, I like the animation a lot. I haven't seen Bluey. I don't know what Lemmy is, Max Buddy Roo. I mean, maybe, no spoilers, Intelligent Donkey. Yeah. What do you think of Blade Runner? The original one? I think that the new Blade Runner movie is better than the old Blade Runner movie. And I think the point of the new Blade Runner movie is to have like a 96-inch OLED TV screen and a big like armchair that you can sit in. So you can just like with the surround sound. And so you just get vaporized by the art movie that you're watching. It's very good. The old one is superior? Nah, sorry. Look, the original Blade Runner is great and highly influential, but it's kind of been lapped by everything it started. See, that's the problem with being a trendsetter. The trendsetter is very rarely the apex of the trend. Everyone else already iterated on it, you know? You can go back and rewatch it. It's still good. I'm not saying it's bad or anything, but it's what a lot of people remember when they think of the original Blade Runner is just the set design. They think of the set design and the backdrops, the matte paintings, and they think, "Wow, yeah, that was really good." It was really good, but then you remember like the movie, and it's like, "Well, okay, you know, there was room for improvement in terms of well, a lot of things." The new one really commits to being like a visual feast, and I think it's better for that. God, can you imagine if the new one had like a romance arc or something? Or like a subplot? Yeah, I haven't seen the original theatrical cut of the original Blade Runner. I'd rather kill myself and watch that. I saw the one without. For those of you who don't know, the original Blade Runner is a great movie, but the execs were like, people aren't going to get this, so let's get Harrison Ford to narrate over everything that's happening so that people don't miss a beat. And Harrison Ford didn't want to do this, so he sounds like completely out of it while he's doing it, and it like ruined the theatrical cut. And then later they cobbled together the yeah, but he sounded bored and drunk. That's not really romance, RJ McDaddy. He always sounds bored and drunk? Yeah. Well, Harrison Ford just kind of plays Harrison Ford, right? Like, can we be real? Right? He's like Nick Cage. He's like the thinking man's Nick Cage, okay? Harrison Ford does every character pretty similar, okay? He doesn't have a great acting range. It's just who he is so great that we like seeing him play him, you know? The only meaningful difference between his characters is how engaged he is with the story that he's doing and how, like, alive he is, you know? Yeah, it's like Will Smith. Will Smith only plays Will Smith. Will Smith doesn't play not Will Smith. Even when Will Smith is trying to play not Will Smith, like in After Earth or whatever, he's still playing Will Smith. He's always just Will Smith. There are a lot of actors like that, where it's always like the same. He was pretty bad in After Earth, yeah. How many Harrison Ford movies have you seen? Fuck. I don't have a good movie memory. Well, obviously Blade Runner, Star Wars movies, the Indiana Jones. I know I've seen more. I don't remember. I haven't seen The Fugitive. No. Mark Wahlberg is one of those actors, you know? Yeah. Yeah, Schwarzenegger also does this. Like, can we be real? Okay. The number of actors who basically just play them in every movie is probably greater than the number of actors who know how to actually act, right? Like, when I think of an actor who knows how to actually act, like, great case for this. Willem Dafoe and or Robert Pattinson in The Lighthouse, right? Like, you had to have actors there. Actors had to act there. You couldn't not have actors there. Robert Norton, I always think of whenever I'm always excited when he's in a movie. Oh, Gary Oldman, yeah. Christian Bale, yeah, Christian Bale, for sure. For sure. Bryan Cranston. Yeah, now every time I see Bryan Cranston, I feel like people want him to be Walter because it's so because Breaking Bad was so popular. But like generally, he's capable. Did anyone see, because Vermin showed this to me, the recent episode of Sunny in Philadelphia where the bit is that the gang meets Jesse and Walt? Well, but not the characters, the actors. But the joke is that they talk about them like Malcolm in the Middle. Like that's Malcolm's dad and Malcolm. Like pointing at Jesse like that's Malcolm. But they're just playing Jesse and Walter. Like they're not even trying to play how they act in real life. They're just acting like, yeah, whatever. Malcolm looks weird. Yeah. No, I really want to see Asteroid City. I've not seen 23 now. Bob Odenkirk's really good. What was that? What was that weirdly animated show with Bob Odenkirk we saw? You said Robert Norton. It's Edward Norton. Did I say Robert Norton? I must have been thinking of Robert Pattinson because I just said Robert Pattinson. Yeah, Edward Norton. Birdman. Oh my God. Dude, I can't get over how much I fucking love Birdman. Or what's the oh my god, the movie with the drums? Come on, it's got the Whiplash. And I always forget his name. He's like the best actor and the best voice actor. Come on, the old guy in Whiplash. J.K. Simmons, thank you. I'll never remember these things, but I don't remember the names. Yeah, he can act. Yeah. Birdman was so fucking good. Just a brief break, still Skrilla. Brad Pitt acting chops thoughts? Brad Pitt's a fine actor. I mean, he's mostly known for being a pretty boy. He's fine. I don't think he's exceptional. I think he's great. I mean, I think he's really good though. I think when people get a rep for being a pretty boy actor, people kind of like write them off a little bit. It was the same with Leonardo DiCaprio, right? Because he was like a heartthrob in the 90s and early aughts. But he's a good actor. Oh, wait. How have we not said Ryan Gosling? We literally talked about Blade Runner earlier. We're talking about good actors. I can't believe the same guy in that Barbie clip, and literally me, and in Blade Runner, the sequel. Yeah. So good. Ryan Gosling is phenomenal. Yeah, no, he's a phenomenal. Barbie or Oppenheimer first. I think the best plan that people laid out that I saw, and I think I agree with this, is you wake up early, you have a coffee, a cigarette, and nothing else. Doesn't matter if you don't smoke. You go and watch Oppenheimer in IMAX. You get out the theater, you have lunch, then you meet up with the girls. Okay? You pregame at the house, and then you go see Barbie with the girls, and then you stay out drinking for the entire night. Yeah, like a double feature with a food break. If I see them both, Tempest, hopefully my cough is better by then. This sounds like an amazing time. Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it? Yeah. Oh, excuse me. I don't know enough about Jake Gyllenhaal. Oh, I know he catches a lot of shit, but I do like Taika Waititi a lot. I know people are still mad about Thor: Love and Thunder. Does it, Vermin? I'll see if I can do something about that. Oh, God. Sorry, it's getting really hard to not cough. I think I have one brief segment in me. Bit of a movie interlude there. Jojo Rabbit cancels out the Love and Thunder situation. Jojo Rabbit, as far as I'm concerned, is a must watch for my channel. If you watch my content, you haven't seen Jojo Rabbit, you should see it. Oscar Isaac is amazing too. He was great. Yeah. Birdman is crazy overrated. Whoa! Birdman is overrated? Yeah, I feel like I don't see I feel like Birdman should be considered easily in one of the best movies of the past decade. Just like clears it. You know, not the best, but like it deserves consideration. I feel like I bring up Birdman more than I see everyone else combined bring up Birdman. You know? Yes, fake rant. I'm glad Logical Pretzels. Maybe Max. No, Tempest. No, it's not actually one shot. It's especially funny that it's just the Michael Keaton story. It's still the Michael Keaton story because then isn't Michael Keaton doing Batman again? It's the Michael Keaton. Dude, Michael Keaton made the story of how they would never cast him as anything other than Batman, and then they brought him back as Batman for their shitty fucking DC Cinematic Universe movies. It never ended. Birdman is still happening right now. It's happening somewhere. At least one person watching this stream, unknown to you, has a jazz instrumental band playing right outside of your house, and there's somebody walking around with a camera. Michael Keaton is outside of one of your houses. You are about to be part of a set piece. Good luck. Keaton is flying somewhere. He's somewhere. Look up in the sky. Oh, you know who else I always really liked? Let me make sure I have his name right. Jesse Eisenberg. I always liked watching Jesse Eisenberg, even though, was Jesse Eisenberg Lex Luthor in Smallville? No, that's got to be another person, right? No, that's another person. He was Lex. Wait, but it wasn't in Smallville. It was in something else, wasn't it? It was in the DC. It was in Batman vs Superman. Okay, I didn't see Batman vs Superman. Okay, okay. I just remember the Smallville. I like Eisenberg. Do we like Eisenberg? I like Eisenberg. The main thing that I really want to see, because he to me is the current like heartthrob, right? That what I want to see right now is what am I gonna say? Henry Cavill? That's the name, right? Henry, yeah. God, I wish I could remember any names. Yeah, Henry Cavill. Yeah, that's the name. I want to see him do some like weird esoteric acting thing, right? Because that's what actors do. They'll do like big jobs. They'll do big pieces with a lot of expectations on them. And then they'll get asked by like an art student if they want to be in an art film. And they'll go like, yeah, why not? Yeah, Henry Cavill is really hot. But is he a great actor? Because I'm going to be honest with you. It's not hard to play gravelly voiced Growly Man. Like, maybe he is a great actor. I wouldn't know that Robert Pattinson was a great actor if I hadn't watched The Lighthouse. So, you know, he needs to be brought out in something. He was in Mission Impossible. I didn't see whichever Mission Impossible he was in. The new one? What about Keanu? Yeah, Keanu does Keanu things, you know. Oh, I didn't know they did the same voice. Alec Master. Watch other movies with Robert. He's consistently an amazing actor, like Good Time and Lost City of Z. Oh. Are we done with politics? No. No. Hold on. We have one more segment in us, okay? Probably not Dono read. Man, we're going to have a lot of donos to read when we finally get to that. I will read super chats because those are not preserved the way the site donos are. Okay. Sorry, the cough. Cough drops. you've probably already seen some information on this. It's too funny to not cover. So, as the newest piece of evidence towards my ongoing advocacy for, begrudging participation in the electoral process, we have maybe the most extreme example of procedural radicalism I've ever seen. The 400-year veto. So, in the American executive system, both presidential and gubernatorial, we have something called a veto. The veto gives the executive the power to get rid of a law the legislature has approved until it gets sent back for a supermajority. It's complicated, but the point is they have some power. They can slap it down, by a 51-49 majority. A bill gets passed. The governor doesn't like it. He smacks it down. That's how it is sometimes. But Wisconsin has an interesting kind of veto. They have something called an inline veto. So, and this is going to sound like a cartoon thing, but I swear to you this is real. In Wisconsin, the governor has the ability to veto not just the bill, but individual words, sentences, or characters in the bill. So if there's something in the bill that says, for example, this bill provides, 1,000 of such and such, and you cut out 2 zeros, now it provides 10 of such and such. That's not a joke. It's actually that stupid. It's much more powerful than a regular veto because creative use of the inline veto can functionally completely change the law that's getting passed. You can with creative edits. Now, there are limitations. I think you're not allowed to splice sentences. There are specifics to how exactly it can be used, but it is it's basically clip chimping as a veto power. It basically, you look at it with your X-Acto knife and your glue and your tweezers, and you're like, okay, we're gonna pass a completely different bill. Now, Wisconsin, which is controlled by Rust Belt Dems, aka Lenin, aka the Red Army. As we all know, it's New York Democrats are all Clintonites, and Rust Belt Democrats are all Red Army commissars. Something funny happened. In using this inline veto, our man over here, this guy, Lenin, I don't know, this, do you have the meme image? It keeps coming up, man. Yep. New York Dems with a supermajority versus Midwest Dems with a 1 vote margin. Literally, it keeps happening. This keeps happening over and over again. It's not controlled by Dems. The state legislature is gerrymandered to hell. I might be thinking of Michigan again. It's got a blue governor, is what matters. But he did a little sneaky. Minnesota as well, yeah. Wisconsin governor attempted to lock in a school funding increase for the next 400 years by issuing a partial veto that angered his Republican critics and marks the latest creative use of the unique gubernatorial powers in the state. Wisconsin allows governors to alter certain legislation by replacing words and letters wherever they see fit. And Governor Tony Evers struck a hyphen and 20 to change the end date for a $325 per student spending increase from 2025 to 2425. Yes, this is some Saul Goodman shit. This is insane. With those seemingly simple changes, Evers enacted 4 centuries of funding increases that cannot be undone unless a court strikes it down or a future legislature or governor intervene. America forever. It is a cheat code. Here's what he had to say. Or not he, but another. Everyone will shout and scream, said former Democratic Governor Jim Doyle. But he's got him. That's the Midwest Dem energy. I love that. If this was like a New York Dem, they would have been like, first of all, a New York Dem wouldn't have done this. But if they had accidentally done this, you know, Governor, I don't know, Jeffrey Epstein or whatever from New York would have said, yeah, well, in line with the interests of our Republican colleagues, I hope we can look to resolve the situation in the future. Meanwhile, Jim Doyle over here, yeah, they're going to shit themselves. They're going to scream and cry and come about it. Fuck them. Flawless Midwest accent. Thank you. I'm a perfect, as a Californian, I'm a perfect repository of American regional accents. God. Republican Assembly Speaker Robin Vos called Evers' 400-year veto, quote, an unprecedentedly brand new way to screw the taxpayer that was never imagined by a previous governor, and certainly wouldn't by anyone who thinks there's a fair process in Wisconsin. Right. Meanwhile, former Republican Governor Scott Walker in 2017 used his veto power to extend the deadline of a state program from 2018 to 3018. He also delayed the start date of another program by 60 years. So this is a power that has been used before by Republicans in the state. It is an insane power. I don't think it should exist, but it is very funny. And as long as Republicans are going to cheat, Democrats should cheat. If there's a cheat God power on hand for the governor to use in this state, I don't think Democrats should refrain from using it. Certainly not if Republicans are going to use it. Why? Like what? Just let them have it? No. Why stop at 1,000? Go for 10,000, baby. America's not going to exist in 1,000 years. It's so funny. Apparently, the inline veto power has been weakened over the years. Can you imagine how strong it must have been before? What Governor Evers did was masterful and really important and something everyone should have expected him to do. I'm sure they're kicking themselves over the why they didn't see this little number thing. The consequence of this is that when drafting legislation under an opposition's governor, you have to be careful to word your law, your bill, in a way that it can't be clip-chipped. They have to do for their bills what I have to do for my streams. Like, you have to be like, okay, even with all the powers they have, can they twist this into something we don't like? The U.S. president used to have inline veto power until Rudy Giuliani won a Supreme Court case in the 90s. Really? I'll have to look into that. Gonna be honest with you, I don't think the inline veto power is good. I think it's a bit much. Personally, I think it's a bit much. That's a little too wacky for me. I'd like to think that I'm okay with some wacky shenanigans, some chicanery, some Saul Goodman shit on the governmental level, but that's a lot. That's a lot. That's very wacky. I think only Dem should have it. Well, that would be fine. Vosh, you are a gay lib. Communism is unrestricted inline vetoing. We will achieve, luxury commodity socialism entirely through inline vetoes. We'll have the, inline veto to U.S. Constitution. Just rearrange all the letters until it spells out the necessary text from the Communist Manifesto. It is nice to see Dems outmaneuver Republicans for once, yeah. It's so rare. It just doesn't... Just clone all the Midwest Dems, yeah. Sorry, Ectoplasmic. I'm on very little sleep, and a lot of my brain power right now is going to not cough. Not coughing. See this use of it? Yes, Frankenstein veto. Occurs when a governor selectively deletes words from a bill, stitching together the remainder to form a new bill different from what was passed by the legislature. Oh, hello, Constitution of Wisconsin. For instance, Governor Jim Doyle... Wait, isn't Jim Doyle the Democrat who I just read out loud, the voice of? Oh my god, he even looks like the voice. Yeah, this is the Democrat. Yeah, them Republicans shitting themselves. Yeah, this guy. Okay, so this guy, who looks like a Midwest Dem union boss corrupt guy if I've ever seen one. Let's see, what did he do when he was governor? Use selective deletion to transform a 272-word section of the legislature's budget into a 20-word sentence that took $427 million from the transportation budget and gave it to public schools. Oh my God. Literally just crunching. It's clip chimping, dude. Literally. 272 words to 20. Yeah, actual Everett Clare. Yeah, just, nope, we don't need this word. It's like when you try to clip chimp somebody by like splicing clips and hoping people don't notice. Give $500 million to school. Got it. Yeah, I passed this. Yeah. Defecated through a sunroof. Jesus Christ. The Department of Transportation shall transfer to the general fund from the Transportation Fund in the 2005 to 2007 fiscal biennium 427,000,000 Say it with Everard's voice. I don't know if I can. This truly defies comprehension. It's too funny. The chicanery. If every Democrat was this powerful, then we would be a bastion of communism right now. Yeah, this is what was passed recently with the funding for the school district. For the limit for 2023 to 24-25, add $325 to the result under paragraph B. This is the single most exploitative legislative loophole I've ever heard of in my entire life, and I'm including the law books of ancient civilization. Yeah, this sounds so cartoonish that it actually extends beyond. Like, this sounds like something that like a mad king of the Holy Roman Empire would have. Like they try to put constraints on a divine emperor's power, and he's like, but this book, or some like the law said any word befell in the king's ear, so like he had his ears chopped off, so now he's invulnerable to like. It's like it is the kind of legal loopholes that you would normally have to abide by when trying to trick some kind of demonic entity that you've made an unwitting deal with, okay? This is like Superman fighting Mxyzptlk or whatever the fuck his name is, okay? This is I accidentally made a dark bargain and I'm going to need to chicane like I've never chicaned before to get through it. Yeah, this is legal proceduralism, okay? The devil went down to Georgia. He was looking for a line item veto. To steal. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I feel like if this was framed artfully and had nice font, I kind of want this like framed and hung on my wall. Like with the strike through on 90% of the words. It's really good. It is kind of heartening to see Democrats doing something for once. Okay. We've made it nearly 3 hours, which I'm very impressed by. I didn't know I'd be able to last this long. So I'm going to hit the add button, and I'm going to read super chats. I might also read a couple of donations, but I'm definitely not going to be able to read all of them. Naomi Chance, thank you for the 5. Crow's Perch, thank you for the $10. We'll see it when we see it. Josh Marsh and David Henry, thank you for the 2 both. Got the movie stun lock. Josh Marsh, the $5. Asking a bait question about neo-Nazis in the black community. Black community is overwhelmingly Democrat voting. I think that there are problems with anti-Semitism in the black Hebrew Israelite community, but I don't think they're that legislatively substantial. Knuckles, thanks the $4. That Basis, thanks the 2. Bubby, thanks the $5. God willing. It's like my body knows we're done with the segments. Anarchist Antichrist, thank you for the $5. Stay cool. Nathaniel Stevens, thank you for the 1. Rigor Sinks, thank you for the $20. Really appreciate that. Piotr Online, thank you for the 4. Sean Berderina, thank you for the 5. Really appreciate that. Congrats on finishing your capstone. Queen Slut, thank you for the 10. Glad I was able to make it this far too. God. So unattractive. Yeah, my body knew when we were done with the segments. I'm going to try to read a few donos. Wumpy Jumps, thanks the tier 2 sub. I'm very excited for Super Mario Wonder. Is that what it's called? I love the art style. Uber Goober, thank you for the $20. I really appreciate that. I'll be better soon. Crab Navy General, Trump Lady Lumps, thank you for the $5. I haven't seen Annihilation, I'm afraid. Bad Canary, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Excuse me. I'm dying over here now. Maybe I should save this for next time. Yeah, I think I will. It'll all be here tomorrow. Thank you, Peaceful Warrior, for the $5. Okay. Love you guys very much. Please take care of yourselves. I'm just going to chill. I'm going to chill all day. That's all I got to do. Right? Don't talk. Don't cough. Tomorrow, I'll cough less than I did today. It's even better. Really missed streaming, guys. Really did. Let me see who I'm going to host. Lumi! We haven't hosted Lumi in a while. Hey, we're hosting Lumi. Be good to them. Be cool. Nice. Really did miss you guys. Where's the Lumi button? Lumi button. Lumi button. There it is. Nice. I'll see you guys soon. How's that, Keffels? It's Keffels.